Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace episode 175 on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, and this is Matt Kyle. We are here to give you the biggest and the best in video games for the week. Well, not quite a week.
The last 4 days.
Yeah, the last 4 days. We just did an episode on Thursday, but we wanted to get another one out to you guys. One, because we hadn't done one for a while before that, but two, we want to get on a regular schedule where we're doing this show every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. It just works better for everyone, I think. Maybe not for U.S. folks, although I think some people could probably get away with watching the show at work. But it works better for me because I don't have to stay up until 3 a.m. now for show days. If we're starting at 1 o'clock, it works better. I think actually it'll work better for you eventually for traffic. You had a tough day today.
Yeah, there won't be a motorcycle crash every day.
Yeah.
But going back is always going to be easier earlier.
Yeah. Well, if we wrap here at 4 o'clock, it shouldn't be too bad. That's around the time I was heading to your place. It's not great. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that right now. But it's not terrible. So this is going to be our permanent day and time for GameFace going forward. 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. So did you get to check out the show from last week, Matt?
Not really. I mean, I saw the comments.
Yeah.
A lot of people like the audio.
Yeah, the audio, man. What a massive upgrade our audio is now. It's easier on me too because we don't have to go back and like remix audio and like go and look for mic kits and everything. Like we can basically just shove it in and render it and forget it. So
gotta let go of the TV trappings.
Yep, for sure. So I'm very happy with the way the show's going so far. This is just our second show in the new studio. You're gonna see a couple new things rolling into the show today, and they're gonna keep coming. We're working on completely redoing the show with a new show open, new show graphics, a new show close. I know people will be sad to see our goofy opener go, but we're finally going to do it. I'm not going to tell you.
Finally update that copyright date.
Is it still 2015 in that?
Pretty sure it is, yeah.
I thought I had updated that to 2019, but now it doesn't matter because we're doing new graphics anyway. So the first step was to get the studio. Second was to get it all set up and wired, then launch the show. And now it's going to be a process of us getting the show to where we want it. But you're going to see in this episode that we're bringing back some stuff that we had in GameFace from over a year ago. So really excited about that. It was tough getting the show together. I'll admit that. With just 4 days, there's not a lot of stuff that comes along to talk about. But I think we've done a decent job. I think we've got a great show. We got one gigantic game to talk about that's looking like it might be a Game of the Year candidate, and we're going to dig deep into that. One final note before we get started. Feeling the urge to get away from it all? Permanently or for months at a time? Immerse yourself in the best Montana has to offer on 320 acres of remote, heavily forested property. Gaze at your own private lake from the deck of the log cabin. Truly off the grid, soak in a custom wood fire-heated hot tub surrounded by wilderness and wildlife. Visit www.lostlakemontana.com for more detailed information and images. You can also contact Doug DeShazer today at deshazermt@gmail.com or 406-291-1643. That's deshazermt@gmail.com or 406-291-1643. Pactor Factor, we're shooting that this Friday morning. So probably today when I get home, we'll put up a post for you guys to give us your questions for Pactor Factor. We're coming up on Q4 here. All the big games are going to be coming out in the next few months. So you got plenty of ammunition to ask him some questions. Look out for that. It'll be on Sifted. It'll be on our Patreon. We'll ask on YouTube. We'll ask on Twitter. We'll ask on Facebook. I think it's been good now that we've kind of spread our wings a little bit and started getting questions from other places instead of just Sifted. Obviously, when you keep asking the same people for questions, they start running out of ideas, but then you crack it open to a new audience, and they seem to have a ton of really good ones. So I think the last round of Pactor Factor, more than half of our questions came from YouTube. So definitely a bit of a changing of the guard. Sifters, pick your game up. But anyway, we're excited to be back. Again, this is going to be our permanent time and date going forward. Jarrett is in the shower. There he is. Cutting together the show for us today. He did an amazing job last week. I'm sure you guys noticed. It was like nothing ever happened. Like, he's a great TriCaster TD, although he will be out for the next couple of weeks. So we're going to have somebody else to introduce you to for the next couple episodes. But it'll be good for us to have more than one person in case Jared's away or sick or whatever. We'll always be able to do the show. And that's, again, an advantage also. If Matt takes a vacation or is sick and can't do it, I can bring in a co-host to do the show here with us. So we should be good going forward with GameFace. And with that, let's get to the first topic of episode 175. We're going to talk about Wolfenstein Youngblood. We discussed it last week or last Thursday. I'd only played a handful of hours of it, hadn't gotten too far. And now I have finished the game, and I wanted to come back and kind of discuss it.
Still only played a handful of hours.
That is true. I mentioned last week that I thought the game was like 14 hours or 15 hours. It's not. It is about 10 hours long. Keep in mind, you are getting the game for $30, so you can give them a little bit of a pass on the length, but it's shorter than I expected it to be, even for a $30 game. I will say this too, now that I've finished it and played through the whole thing, I'm not as high on the game as I was before. I still really enjoyed the game, but over time some things started creeping in. I think what struck me the most is that I didn't really notice until I started playing it, but Arcane helped work on this game. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know, Arcane are the kings of the sneak genre. There's a word for it. What do people call it?
They call them immersive sims, which I think is the dumbest subgenre name ever devised, but because it doesn't describe anything.
It really doesn't.
But they make
Dishonored, Prey.
That kind of like Deus Ex style stuff.
Well, the more I kept playing this game, the more I started to see Arcane's influence creeping in. The world is not that big. There aren't that many levels in the game, but in true Arcane style, they make the most out of a small space. So while you go back to the same areas pretty consistently and pretty often, the missions and the objectives are so different and so mixed up that it kind of softens the blow a little bit. But there's no denying that if you're used to playing a full-fledged Wolfenstein game, you're going to be a little disappointed in this game. I think another complaint I had is, again, I didn't realize this until I played it further, is that there aren't really any new weapons in the game. There's one. Like, the arsenal is pretty much what you've been getting from all Wolfenstein games, and maybe that makes sense for the canon or the universe. It's like you don't
a lot of weapon development going on.
Which doesn't make much sense considering all the other development that was going on. But it does have pretty much the same loadout as you got from the other Wolfenstein games. The co-op, I ended up loving. I loved playing it with the AI. The AI is smart. It does kind of go out in the open and get shot pretty often, but as far as like interacting with you and helping you, it's very good. As soon as you go down, that AI is coming over to help you. It's in some ways, honestly, playing with the AI is better than playing with a human character. Because the AI is programmed to just do what it's supposed to do, which is when you go down, come over and help you revive. You play with the human, they may be off on the other side of the map, or they may just not care, and they'll just leave you there to bleed out a lot of times. So in some ways, I like playing with the AI better, but obviously the skill level of a human player trumps that. But the cool thing is this drop in, drop out. You can gain a human player, you can lose a human player. It's completely seamless. Everybody gets to keep their progress that they make playing cooperatively, even if you're playing in someone else's game. The co-op in this, I felt like, was handled really, really well. And considering that's kind of the hallmark trait of this game, I think they did a good job. I've seen people complaining about the banter between the girls. It honestly hasn't bothered me that much. I thought some of it was kind of funny. Like, I actually laughed out loud at a couple points in this game, which is something I almost never ever do.
I mean, they've been pretty fun. I mean, there wasn't a lot of funny like banter in like between like BJ and other characters in like the last one. But if you stuck around and watched like the little scenes play out, like on the submarine or whatever, like some of that was very funny. Like there was stuff with like I remember stuff with like Max Haas beating the brilliant scientist guy at chess, and the scientist guy freaks out and smashes the chess.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like there's always been a sense of humor to it, even despite how bleak the series is. So that makes sense. And also, like, they're kids. They don't. The gravity of it hasn't sunk in yet.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people complaining that there was a lot of shock value in this game, and I'm like, wait a minute, did you play any of the other Wolfensteins? Yeah. Like, I saw some people that were, like, offended. They're like, oh, this is just, like, for the sake of it. I'm like, that's Wolfenstein, bro.
Yeah.
Like, the last Wolfenstein, I was disturbed by that one scene where the guy stomps the other person's head, but I didn't say,
Which one?
The one scene where they're all together in the room and they just got captured and they basically kill the one person to send a message. That scene was disturbing, man.
Oh, yeah.
But I wasn't offended by it, and I didn't think it was like a cheap tactic.
I mean, it's supposed to be that.
Yeah, that's the idea behind it. It's supposed to strike fear into your heart.
This woman is crazy. Like,
right.
You know, she's a Nazi.
Right.
Like,
they're Nazis. Nothing you do to them will ever shock me or make me feel bad.
Like, I mean, I get people that thought like maybe that was over the top, or like she's killing one of your friends with an axe while like body shaming her daughter.
Yeah.
It's just like, just sort of like hitting all the marks on the asshole.
For 2019 especially, you're hitting all the marks there.
Yeah, I still haven't played this. I haven't gotten around to it. Like, my time's been kind of limited, and the limited time for games has gone into Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Because that is not short.
Yeah, we are going to blow that game out here shortly, so
and I just
do not despair.
I just haven't, like, been able to make time for this one. But I will. I will play it. Like, I do like the Wolfensteins.
Yeah, I mean, for $30, I definitely recommend a purchase. Last week it was wholeheartedly recommend. This week it's like, if you're not a big fan of shooters, I would probably say no.
So do the reviews make more sense now?
A little more. Honestly, I think as the week went on, or the time went on, the reviews started to bump up a little bit. Like, I saw several big sites that really liked it. So, yeah, I think overall, probably the reviews for this are pretty dead on. You get that kind of wide swath of, here's the guy on the low end, here's a couple guys on the high end. But I think most of the people in the middle pretty much get it right. But, yeah, I think what surprised me the most is for the amount of time that it took me to play it, the amount of content as far as missions are concerned was pretty impressive. And how they managed to milk the small environments out to that sort of game length, I also was pretty impressed by, because it didn't feel artificially inflated in any way. The stealth is still stupid.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I would say. If you're an Arcane fan, an immersive sim fan, you're probably going to be disappointed that Arcane worked on this, because it is not the game's forte. The stealth in this game, while they try to use it as, hey, you don't have to just go around shooting everybody, you can stealth, you really can't. Like,
no, like, I mean, that's always been true of this. It's like, you stick your head around a corner, one guy sees you 400 yards away, and everybody turns the alarm on, and now it's just a firefight.
And this game is the exact same way.
Because that's what you want. I mean, that's what you want Wolfenstein to be, as a firefight, really.
Yeah, I'm not a big stealth guy in the first place, so it wasn't anything for me. But I know a lot of people that hear Arcane attached to this. They think that the game's a certain way. And I would only say the level design, the intricate level design is kind of carried
I would
over.
think that's like a thing where it's like, no, they just needed help getting it out the door, because, they're doing, the people who makes this series normally, is it Machine Games?
Yeah, and Machine Games made this too in cooperation with Arcane.
Right. I mean, hopefully Machine Games has a good chunk working on Wolfenstein 3 right now. So sort of like how they had to get Koei to help for Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a side game, spin-off game. This isn't like a full-fledged Wolfenstein sequel.
Although I can see why, in a year with Far Cry New Dawn, you might be expecting a little more meat out of that kind of a game.
Yeah, it set the bar pretty high for that type of thing, for sure. And this game is way shorter than that. Way, way shorter. But I think it was a little more expensive than Youngblood 2, wasn't it? Like an extra 10
I would
$10,
think so,
I think it was.
40. It was 40 for New Dawn.
But it is
Although it's 40 if you want the buddy pass on this.
Right. Where you can let someone else play the whole game for free.
Yeah.
Which, if you both chip in, you can get the game for like $20, which is pretty awesome. Of course, you have to trust that the one person who actually gets the game will let you play. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. It's a high-action, high-speed shooter. They give you plenty of ammo. You're not conserving ammo. It's just basically a run-and-gun. I wouldn't call it a circle strafer, because the enemies don't really charge. They pretty much, they spill in, like you said. They'll pull the alarm, and obviously your objective is to try to kill the guy before he pulls the alarm. But you rarely do that, and so they pull the alarm, and the level gets flooded with enemies, but it's not like they rush at you. So it's not like a Rage or something like that, where the enemies are constantly advancing, so you have to keep strafing around them to be able to get good angles to shoot them. They do kind of post up. The heavies will just slowly trudge towards you, but no one really runs at you or does any kind of acrobatics or anything like that to get to you quickly. So it is pretty easy to kind of assess a room and say, okay, most of the enemies are over in this corner, and then maybe bait a couple of them away from the group, get them to kind of chase you, shoot them, go back, bait a couple more. So I guess there are different tactics you can use to get through it, but not in the same vein as you would get in Wolfenstein, and certainly not in the same vein as you would get with a Dishonored or a Prey from Arcane Studios. So the other thing I would say, too, about the story is that it kind of goes away. In the opening, there's I think the game opens with an hour and a half of cutscenes in the first 3 hours. And then after that, there really aren't a lot of cutscenes to move the story forward. Most of the exposition is just told on the fly between the girls as they kind of converse. So there are telltale signs that this wasn't a full release, and they kind of pulled their punches a little bit on it. But overall, I had a blast playing it. It is short but sweet. I think
you know who really made out like a bandit in this Nazi takeover? Must have been the people who manufacture red fabric.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So
it's I guess that's the first thing you do when you conquer a country in the Third Reich is you just start hanging banners.
Yeah. And again, to repeat what I said last week, in case you didn't watch the show from a few days ago, the gunplay in this still feels great. That is one part of Wolfenstein that hasn't changed. It's not as satisfying as
It's interesting to me that they have health bars now.
Yeah, that is a change for sure. I think it helped. I wasn't disappointed by that at all. It helps you ration out your ammo and kind of help you with your strategy when you're trying to clear out a room. But you're right, that is a change for the franchise, and I'm not 1,000% sure why they did it.
Yeah, I couldn't really. I'm having a hard time understanding what the reason behind that is, but.
And I wonder too if that will be a feature that will appear in the next mainline Wolfenstein.
I don't know. I mean, part of the reason it feels weird to me is this series, as Machine Games makes it, has always been so clean.
Yeah.
There's very little UI getting in the way.
Yep.
And
you're right.
It's weird that suddenly that's there, but I'm sure you can turn them off or whatever. But
you can, yeah.
I'm not. I don't know. That strikes me. Because I did go back briefly and play some of Wolfenstein 2 just to sort of refresh, and it's a real clean game.
Yeah, this game's not as hard as the last Wolfenstein either. It's easier, and I think co-op might have something to do with that. It's pretty well balanced, though. I mean, when you have a guy jumping in and out and going to AI, you never really notice that it gets noticeably more difficult or noticeably easier. So they do a pretty good job with enemy spawning and making sure that you're getting the right amount of enemies and they're the right difficulty based upon whether it's you with a friend or you with the computer or whatever. So again, it's $30, $40 if you get the buddy pass, and then you can let someone else play along with you. I think it's well worth the money. You can't play it over and over again like you can with a lot of Arcane games and have it be a completely different experience. So the replay value isn't up to maybe what you're used to from these studios. But that first playthrough to me was a ton of fun, and I really enjoyed it.
All right.
You'll play it?
I'll get to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when.
August isn't too insane. We just put up Dossier, or the games of August 2019.
No,
There's 5 or 6 kind of must-play games.
I mean, I feel Fire Emblem's going to keep me busy for a while, and then
I'm starting to get that feeling as well.
Rebel Galaxy Outlaw comes out on the 13th, which I've been waiting for. Maybe I'm the only one, but I do love a good space shooter, and I like the first one a lot, but they the first one was more of it was almost like they made the boat combat in Assassin's Creed into a space game.
Yeah.
Because you were more like playing a capital ship, and this one is a straight up fighter kind of thing, more of a traditional X-Wing TIE fighter thing, which is my preferred. I think it sounds like that's what they wanted to make, but didn't have the resources the first time, so now they do. And it looks pretty good, and so I'm pretty much expecting to jump from Fire Emblem to that. And then who knows? Because then holiday season pretty much starts by the time I'm done with that. There's
a few big. Control comes out next month. That's probably the biggest game of the month.
Yeah, I mean, does Nintendo have something at the end of the chain thing?
Astral Chain.
Yeah, I'm never gonna remember that name.
Platinum's game.
Yeah,
that comes out next month as well.
Oh, I mean, Platinum, so probably won't sell that well, but
yeah, probably won't.
It's their big release of the month, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, look, Switch has something big for pretty much every month. So,
and now they get Outer Wilds.
Yeah, that's a big announcement.
Outer Worlds.
The Outer Worlds. Yeah, I never thought we'd see that one on Switch.
I mean, I would have thought it was a technical issue more than anything else, but it's okay.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but at E3 it was one of my downs, that game, because of how it looked. It didn't look that great. So maybe I should have figured at that point, this actually probably could run on Switch.
Maybe. I mean, Fire Emblem has trouble running on Switch at times, so I don't know how much water that holds really, but
I think that engine they're using for Fire Emblem is just a piece of crap.
What is it?
I mean, I think it's Intelligent Systems 3D engine that they've been using.
Is it just like the same thing they use for like Fire Emblem Warriors and stuff like that? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that. Next up, we're going to talk about QuakeCon. Or should it be called DoomCon this year?
Yeah, it is pretty much DoomCon.
I mean
it hasn't been QuakeCon for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just BethesdaCon.
Yeah.
And maybe it's kind of tough to change it now.
I mean, QuakeCon...
Because the branding is there at this point.
QuakeCon has a nice ring to it. You don't really... I mean, BethesdaCon, like, that's too many syllables.
BethCon or something.
Yeah, BethCon sounds like a convention full of people named Elizabeth.
Full of basic chicks.
Yeah, or just, like, big fans of the Queen. You know, like...
Yeah,
BethCon. We're so into the Queen, we call her Beth. Yeah, they'll get executed, I think, in some places.
Yeah, I'm sure Bethesda regrets calling it QuakeCon at the beginning. Although I don't know if Bethesda.
I don't think they owned it.
Yeah, I don't think they did either.
Id started QuakeCon.
Yeah,
and like it's just what it's called now. Like,
yeah,
you want to change that?
I think Quake might be Bethesda's most irrelevant IP it has at this point.
Unless they still own the rights to Wet. Yeah,
right.
I would say.
Or some of those other games that just mysteriously disappeared. Battle Cry is another one.
Battle Cry. Oh yeah.
But typically what they do every year is they're like, okay, what's our big game? And then they just kind of theme QuakeCon all around that one big game. And it is, as Bethesda has coined, the year of Doom. So shouldn't come as a big surprise to us that Doom was the centerpiece.
Yeah,
and not
25th anniversary. So.
Yeah. And not just Doom Eternal. As we're seeing right here, the original Doom trilogy was stealth launched or shadow dropped or whatever the hell people are calling it these days on pretty much every major platform. It wasn't without its bumps, though.
Yeah, I mean, there was the error seems to be an error on Xbox where suddenly you couldn't re-download. If you owned it on 360, you couldn't re-download it unless you went through like a weird sort of like thing where you went into the menus and said show me the game in the store, and then it would take it. So the page and the ability to download it was still there. You just had to jump through some hoops to see it, which makes it seem like a mistake.
Well, I think people saw it up on Xbox Live before it was announced at QuakeCon.
Yeah, it went up it went up on a couple of things early. But then the big controversy became, I can't re-download Doom 1 on my Xbox 360. Where will I find somewhere to play Doom again? I guess there's some like exclusive things on that version of Doom, and like that was part of the concern. Was like there's like a console exclusive element to it, but and there's a lot of like, this is the digital future, and you can have your games taken. Yeah, well, you know what? If I want to play Blood Will Tell on the PS2, I got to spend $300 for a physical copy. So like, nothing's perfect.
Yeah, like I mean, that's just life.
And like the greatest thing was like when people was like, "Has this ever happened before?" And people are happened with PT. I'm like, PT is a demo no one paid for. Like this is not a comparable
big difference
thing.
There.
People, I'm sure there's demos out there that have been pulled from download status that no one notices because no one cares about that demo. Like people care about PT because it was a thing nobody got to play in the end.
Yeah, it's the forbidden fruit thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if there was a lot of stuff about did they intentionally remove it so you have to buy the Xbox One version and blah blah blah, and it's just like, no, I mean at this point can't we give Bethesda this benefit of the doubt that they just fucked it up?
Yeah.
Like I mean. Haven't we seen this enough from
Everyone
them?
always wants to look for excuses.
Yeah, never like attribute to maliciousness like what you can attribute to just general ineptitude.
Yeah,
and like I feel, and it's not like we don't see weird problems on the Xbox store like that semi regularly. Anyway, it's probably not even Bethesda's fault.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that's just a glitch somewhere.
And
if it's not, guess what? I never ever would have noticed it.
Right.
If no one had said anything. Like
yeah. Would you even have noticed that the first 3 Doom games were released on all these like platforms if they had just put them out, like, not made a big announcement at QuakeCon?
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't even. I mean, maybe one day when I was scrolling through a sale, I would have been, those are
Doom
on
3.
Here?
Yeah. Isn't Doom 3 really the get in this?
No.
I mean, it's not the best game, but I feel like it's the Doom that the modern player probably is least familiar with. Because the classics, the first 2 classics are bandied about all the time. Doom 3 is kind of this forgotten monster closet of a travesty.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. I remember I was working at GameSpot when that came out, and Greg Kasavin gave it like a 9.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, I was.
Doom 3? Doom 3 was the first game we reviewed in L.A. for X-Play.
Was it?
That's the first edit I ever did at G4.
I thought I remembered Greg Kasavin giving it like a 9.5 and everyone in the editorial team being like, what?
I mean, I'm sure they were, if that's what he did. But, like, no, that was the first thing we did when we got to L.A.
Wow.
I had to play it on that stupid Alienware.
My timing is way off.
I had to play it on that stupid Alienware on the corner of Morgan's desk. Because, like, we had no game lab.
You also needed, back when it came out, you needed, like, a monster rig.
Oh, yeah. That's why we used that, because none of the computers in the game lab at G4 were powerful enough to run it.
It's crazy to
look at the only thing
that.
they used those computers for at the time was playing Day of Defeat over and over again.
It's crazy to look at that game now and think back to when it came out and how people were just like, oh, I can't play that. I need to, like, buy a $2,000-some rig to play this game. And I mean, at the time, the lighting in that game was next level stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, it was pretty mind blowing for the time. Now you look at it and you're just like,
why is everything made of dough?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
But, no, I mean, at the time, like the lighting and just like the sheen of slime on the creatures and it was very impressive. It just wasn't very fun.
Yeah, it was just garbage. The game itself was total garbage. I think GameSpot did give that game like a really high score.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you remember that because it was the most significant thing that happened.
And I had just left. It hadn't been that long because I only worked in the Bay Area with Tech TV for like a year, if even a year before we moved to LA.
Yeah, you came on I think mid 2002.
Yeah,
and then we moved. Then we created X-Play. No, yeah, you were there for almost 2 years.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because we created X-Play beginning of 2003, and then we moved to LA in the middle of 2004.
2004, yeah.
So, but now I remember that was our first edit, our first edit period ever for any Tech TV thing at G4. And I went in and I gave Owen Castro, who moved over to American Idol later on.
Yeah.
I gave him like the list of all the shots and the shots with all their names and like they match up to the script and and he looks at it and he goes, "You named your clips?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, and we thought we were like, oh, we're in LA now, we're in the real TV world. We
got to keep our stuff buttoned up.
Yeah, we got to be ready because we're just a bunch of we came from a TV making treehouse, like we came from the honeycomb hideout of television up at Tech TV. Like it was just it was nothing. Like we made everything up as we went, and like we get there and
we were the pros.
Yeah, it turned out that like after he's like, "Oh no, I'm good. Come back in like 2 hours and I'll have it done." I'm like, "Okay." So I went back to our area, and it turned out that after that he called the other editors and he's like, Look what the Tech TV guys are doing."
Yeah, we used iNews and
well, because we had like a hardline post supervisor, Cynthia Lusk, who kept us in line and made sure that we were helping the editors do their job properly and doing our job properly.
It works better for everybody if you're prepared.
You can now find Cynthia in the credits for Pixar films.
Oh, is she working at Pixar?
She's at Pixar. Yeah, which is how she's really good at what she does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the big story was Doom across the board at QuakeCon. Doom Eternal coming out November 22nd, I believe, so not too far away. Mm-hmm. This was kind of its last
Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, exactly. This was kind of its last big showing. I'm sure it'll be at Gamescom next month. We'll get another look at it, but this was kind of Bethesda's last chance to really blow it out. And it focused primarily on multiplayer stuff. Mm-hmm. What did you think about what they showed?
Didn't sound like anything I'm going to play.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised there's not just like a just super basic deathmatch mode in it.
Like I think because they tried that last time and no one cared.
Yeah, but I mean, you could just throw one in.
Right.
Like it feels like you could just have. I mean, don't go crazy with the level designing and all the level making tools and all the customization stuff. Just throw in an option for people to just blow each other up. Like I feel like that's sort of like part of the Doom thing to the degree. I mean, it invented it pretty much. That just surprises me that's not in. I mean, it's not something I would want to play because I don't care about multiplayer stuff, and like random deathmatch stuff is not a thing I care about. But like,
you would think
it's so part
majority.
of that. Yeah, it's just part of that series DNA to the degree that leaving it out feels strange.
And it's so easy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not hard to create a deathmatch.
I mean, it's not like you don't already have online play. Just put like everybody free for all deathmatch. Just go. Like,
seriously. Instead, they focused on battle mode, which is basically just an evolution of what they had in the last game, which is an asymmetrical multiplayer mode where one player plays as the demons, the bad guys, and then the other guys play as the Marines. They've certainly expanded it drastically for Doom Eternal. But I found that I played it, I don't know, a handful of times before I got tired of it in the last game. a lot of the demons have to be unlocked, so sometimes if you're playing as the demon and you're just getting started, you're playing as like one of the weaker ones, although it looks like they've even buffed the weaker ones, which is something that they needed to do for Doom Eternal, and it looks like they have done it, so maybe that'll help remedy it a little bit. But it wasn't sort of on the same level as games like Friday the 13th, where it kind of has a hook and it keeps you going and you just keep playing. I just felt like it was unbalanced and unfair, I guess was my overall opinion of it when I first played it. Now, they could have gone in and patched it later and fixed it all up. Launch week, it was not good. And then remember they had the Forge, or what did they call their level building tool?
I don't remember.
That was one of the most complicated things I've ever messed around with in my life. After messing around with their stage builder in the last Doom, maybe Super Mario Maker 3D isn't such a good idea, because it was really obtuse and really hard to use. Even just like the process of uploading and sharing your levels is really hard to kind of wrap your head around. And then finding, I think we're starting to see what I was talking about with Super Mario Maker 2. I saw someone wrote a big editorial yesterday about now that we're like a month in, the filtering options in Super Mario Maker 2 aren't getting it done. Mm-hmm. And that was something I said on launch day that I thought would be a problem, and it appears that it is turning into an issue for that game. And that was a problem for the last Doom as well. There was just not good enough filtering options to be able to help you find the stages that you wanted to play. And creating them was even more difficult, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not going to miss that feature being removed from this Doom, to be perfectly honest with you. So that's no big loss as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. But concentrating solely on the asymmetrical stuff, a little weird. You want to get that, Matt?
No, I can't. It's someone's at my door.
Oh, and you can't hang up remotely?
No, I gotta let the pool guy in.
Oh, were you able to remotely let him into your house from here? That's crazy.
It's all very high tech.
Yeah, God bless technology. Hopefully, it's not someone else wearing a mask.
No, I recognize him. But if we do that at this time, that's going to pretty much happen every show. Yeah, because that's when he comes.
You can't silence your phone because you have to let him in.
It is silenced, but that app does not let you silence it because it's supposed to be someone's at your door.
Interesting.
And you need to know that.
Yep. But let's talk about the single player. Even though they didn't really focus on it at QuakeCon, what kind of changes are you hoping to see from the campaign, if any?
Nothing really.
Yeah, it was kind of perfect the last game.
I just want more of it and big. I mean, I like the kind of the jumping around and jumping over guys, and like there's obviously more, some more acrobatics basically, and like the flipping off bars there and all that kind of thing. I just basically want the same game but more. All you need to do is it's sort of like what I said about. That's why I was disappointed in Arkham Knight. All you had to do was do City, but more so. Right. And so this looks like just Doom, but more. And I am happy with that.
I wouldn't mind if they doubled down on the level design from the last game. And that might be an area where I would bring in Arcane and be like, hey, like people really like this about the last Doom. We don't want to go overboard. We don't want to make it Dishonored or a Prey here. But can you help us make more labyrinthine? Is that correct? Yeah. Labyrinthine stages for this game. It had just a taste of it in the last one, and I thought it was awesome the way the levels kind of were designed and connected together into kind of one satisfying whole. But I don't believe Arcane has been working on this, so I'm with you. They could just give me another 18-hour campaign of what they gave us last time. I'm totally fine with it. We just don't get enough of this in this day and age. In fact, if you think about it, what shooter has come out since the last Doom that does this? Big budget anyway. There's nothing really. Tons of indie stuff that do this, but no big budget games. So, we get one of these every 2 or 3 years.
Certainly not with the polish.
Yeah. So if we get one of these every 2 or 3 years, that's just about perfect, I think. And it's kind of cornered the market. I don't see other publishers kind of jumping in. Although maybe the new People Can Fly shooter might be something similar. We'll see. But it has a chance to be kind of like Doom. But Bethesda's kind of cornered the market on this type of shooter right now, and it does it better than anyone else, so I have no complaints with that at all. Any other comments about QuakeCon?
Not really.
Elder Scrolls Online they talked about for a little bit, but that was pretty much it, man. It was the Doom trilogy, Doom Eternal, and...
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned Fallout 76's Battle Royale thing. And
they're getting a new map or something for that.
It's just, sure.
It's crazy. I mean,
if you're into that.
I do have to commend Bethesda, though. I mean, any other publisher would have just dropped that game like a bad habit.
I don't know. Like, there's a couple, like Nintendo wouldn't have put it out like that to begin with.
Right.
Microsoft would hang on. Sea of Thieves didn't exactly burn the charts up, but they're still supporting that. The only company I can see like really dropping it like a bad habit would have been EA.
Yeah, even EA though with Anthem has been pretty good.
I think EA's letting Anthem have its planned year, and come next February, Anthem will quietly disappear.
I'd actually like to jump in there and see what it's like now, as far as player count and stuff like that. Have you checked it out lately?
Not probably right after E3. I played a little bit, and it was there's still people playing. There's still, if you go play free roam, there's still you'll still fill out a free roam session with 4 whatever people it's supposed to be. The missions out in the free roam and stuff give you way more loot now. They just pile it on. It's a lot easier to go get components for crafting and stuff like that. But I never did actually finish the campaign, so I don't know if the end game stuff's what people complain about, and I don't know if that's any better. It doesn't sound like it is. And everyone I know who was into Anthem, including some of the people who worked on it, have pretty much moved over back to Destiny.
Oh, really?
So.
Wait, how is that, though? How are they working on Destiny?
They're not working on it. They're playing it.
Oh. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about developers.
Oh, no.
Because I know you have some people who are...
I do know that Anthem's pretty much been fully handed off to Austin.
Okay.
Which is, of course, the team with online experience.
Right.
Who made a lot of suggestions during development were ignored, according to Jason Schreier's article.
Yeah, and probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah, so I would say if that's true that they've moved it to Austin, that is they're in the right hands. But we'll see if they can. Knowing your business in terms of that isn't the same thing as being able to turn public opinion around, and I don't know if that's even possible at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it also looks like BioWare Edmonton has just washed his hands of Anthem and is now just full bore on
Dragon Age
4.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's been some stuff floating to the surface about that over the last week.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like, that's the next big game in production from BioWare, which is what everyone was asking for. And
yep.
Hopefully they don't screw it up.
I know. I mean,
I've lost a lot of faith in BioWare Edmonton through all this.
Same. I mean, and
I liked Anthem more than most people did, but still, it's like the bar for that studio was so high for me that even if it comes down a little bit, to me that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Dragon Age is their last shot before EA pulls the plug
what
somewhere.
It does.
Yeah, it does what it does. But it's kind of their last, what else is left?
Yeah.
I mean, you could try Mass Effect again after that. You could finally let them make a KOTOR game, but by the time they do that, the license will be up.
Yep.
And who knows if Lucasfilm's going to keep that with EA or not after everything that's happened. It really sounds from what Disney's doing in terms of maneuvering their game involvement, and Lucasfilm is kind of recreating Lucas Games internally. It really sounds like they're setting up a situation where they do not have to be licensed to a single company anymore and can kind of farm out their projects to the developers it makes sense to farm it out to, which is how they used to do it. That's how LucasArts used to work. So that seems like a better way to do things, is if you want to make a certain kind of game, it's better to go find the person who's good at making that game rather than hope that EA decides to randomly assign Criterion to make it, or
yeah. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Because when you think about it, what if you want to make an action RPG Star Wars game?
Yeah.
Who do you pick in EA stable for that? Nobody. There's no one there. Nothing.
I mean, Motive tried to do it.
Yeah.
And it got shut down. Yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? But that's a great segue, because our next topic is Madden NFL 20.
Speaking of things that have been around forever and will not go away.
We're not going to talk about it exceptionally long. I know that the Venn diagram of sifters and sports people is pretty slim. But it is arguably the biggest sports game in the industry, and it is coming out on August 2nd. So wanted to give you guys the 411 on this game.
The only reason I knew this was coming soon was because I keep seeing the glitch compilation videos.
Oh. Yeah, it's coming August 2nd, and we won't be able to do a show right when it comes out, so I wanted to kind of get it on your guys' radar in case you're interested. I've been playing it a good bit, and I've been playing mostly the brand new single-player campaign. which is called Face of the Franchise. Remember, the last one was called Long Shot. One thing I've discovered over the last couple years is, did you know that it took 4 years to develop Long Shot?
Sounds about right.
4 years. For a single-player mode that literally lasted about 3 hours.
Yep.
That's insane.
Also explains why they got Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't super famous when they did all that.
It also explains why the one after that wasn't very good, yeah. And it also explains why this one may be the worst of the 3, to be perfectly honest with you. The story part of the story mode lasts about as long, actually is shorter than the last 2 story modes in Madden. When I describe it, people are going to say, oh, that sounds so much more robust than what comes before, and it does sound that way. But everything that I'm about to talk about is stuff that just happens in like concurrent cutscenes. So they're like 4 or 5 minute cutscenes at best, and that is kind of like that whole feature of the mode. So you start out, you're a high school football player. It's not like Long Shot was, where you're like out in the sticks and you're trying to make it to the NFL Combine, blah, blah, blah. You're a good player who is on the radar of the top colleges. And I guess probably the biggest thing for a lot of people with this is that college football has returned to Electronic Arts. There's only about a dozen teams, but I would say they probably just looked at data and said which college football teams have the biggest fan base, and they just chose those. They are like the 12 biggest college programs. So you're a high school player, you're good. You can basically choose any of those 12 teams to go to. They're all recruiting you, and they all want you on the team. So they have the whole scene where there's all the baseball caps for every team sitting there. You walk up, you pick up the cap of the team that you want to play for, and you're on that squad. You sign your letter of intent, and you're on the squad.
Just like in real life.
Yeah. First day you show up at college, the coach says, hey, this other guy who was supposed to go to some other college has changed his mind, and now he's coming here. And by the way, he's the top quarterback recruit in the country. So now you've gone from being the big dog, the starting QB on your college team, to, hey, maybe you should just transfer to a different school because we're going to play this other guy. You don't have a choice in that, by the way. You can't say, no, screw this, I want to go to another college. Basically, your character says, I don't care. I'm going to show you that I'm the best player, and I'm going to be the starting quarterback anyway. Well, it doesn't work out that way. Fast forward to your senior year, you have not played at all. This other guy who came in did take the job and did play all the way through, but you're coming up on the BCS championship, and he gets hurt, and you're thrust into the starting role just in time to play the last 2 games of the season and win the national championship. So you play the semifinal game, and then then you win that, then you play for the national championship. And then that's where...
There's no stealth sequence where you break the guy's leg with a crowbar.
No, there's not. And then from
I was hoping we could Tanya Harding this shit.
Yeah. And then from there, that's where it kind of turns into what Long Shot was, where you're going to the Combine in Indianapolis, you're going through all that, you're doing all the interviews with coaches. There's no sleazy, like, TV network executive, like, following you around like there was in the last one. It's more of a pure mode in that respect. You basically just jump straight into the franchise mode from there. However, the big drawback is that you can only play one position in this new story mode. It used to be you could play whatever you wanted to. And then when you played games, you would only play from that perspective. And it would skip plays, like if you weren't on the
field. Road to the show.
Yeah, and it would, like, you didn't have to play plays where your player isn't involved. Because you're a quarterback, obviously you're involved a lot no matter what in this mode, but you have to play quarterback. You can't play running back, you can't play wide receiver or any other position. So it kind of pigeonholes you into it. And the other thing, too, is that the commitment is way bigger. You have to play, and you're seeing it right now, you have to play through full games. And you have to play pretty much every play, which is a little weird and a little different. So I would honestly say that the new story mode in Madden, Face of the Franchise, is far less flexible than the prior story modes. The plot's terrible. The acting is in writing is abysmal. Like, I don't know who read this script and was like, "Yep, green light, check mark." Like, it's embarrassingly bad. And then that only lasts for like an hour and a half, or maybe 2 hours. And then it's just like you're playing franchise mode, except you're pigeonholed into playing one position. So I'm not a huge fan of the new story mode in Madden. If that's the reason you would have for buying it, I would save your money. And honestly, there aren't a lot of other new features in Madden this year. Option plays are like when option plays are a bullet point on Madden, that's when you know it's one of those years where they kind of took their time and didn't load it up full of new features. It does change the game a lot, being able to run an option play. It's something that was in all the college football games, and obviously Madden kind of had to put it in because they had to have it in the 2 college games that you play for the national championship game. You have to have the option. So EA had to do it, but then it didn't have to let that come into the pro side of the game, but it has. So you can run an option college-style offense in the pros in the new Madden. X Factors, we talked about this when they first unveiled Madden. They're basically finishers or super moves for players. They're unique moves that just specific players can do. Honestly, it sounds like a cool feature, but they're really, when you think about it with NFL players, there aren't signature moves. Like, there's no juke that just one running back does. There's no route that just one wide receiver runs.
Nobody does a tombstone pile driver to finish their tackle.
They basically just stylize things. So if you have a running back who's really good at making that one cut and go, like they over-accentuate that one cut a little bit. Like Le'Veon Bell, he waits for his blocking to line up, he plants his foot, and then he goes. And when he does do that foot plant, it does look like how he does it. But to the average person, they're not going to pick up on any of that stuff. It just seemed pretty much frivolous to me, and not something worth buying the game for. I think really the biggest selling point is college football for most people. And even though you can only play 2 games, there are like a dozen college football teams in there, and you can play as all the teams. So
is Auburn in there?
Oh, I don't remember.
That's the only one I would care
about. It would
about.
be right on the fringe, I'm guessing, of that top 12. They have a huge following. Obviously, your dad was a huge Auburn fan, and he lived out here in California. So that shows the reach that the program has. But I do not recall seeing it. I didn't pick it. I'll tell you that much.
Who did you pick?
I took Miami. Which I don't know why. Temple wasn't on there.
I feel like that's the answer of a lot of people that went to Miami.
Temple wasn't an option, so I just didn't even really care. I just picked whatever team, and I don't think it made all that much of a difference. Like, it basically just swaps out the color scheme on the coach in the cutscenes. Like, it doesn't make that much of a difference. You don't have licensed players for obvious reasons, because EA was sued for trying to make players look like the real players. So,
and God forbid the NCAA do anything to help the players.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So the big feature really is that there's a dash of college football back in the game. Otherwise, it's another year of Madden with updated rosters. A lot of recycled ideas that they tried and then bailed on and then brought back.
Looks like Vincent says Florida, Oregon, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, LSU, USC, Texas, Clemson, Miami, and Florida State.
Okay, so I'm guessing Auburn was right on the fringe there.
Yeah, it was probably number 11.
Yep, that's my guess. So they didn't quite make the cut, but they, like I said, they probably just used data to pick the 10 biggest teams with the biggest followings, or at least the teams that have the most TV audience, the teams that people tune in to see play live. But otherwise, minus the college football, minus the basically throwaway story mode, it's another year of Madden with updated rosters and updated rule sets. It'll be interesting to see, and I haven't seen this yet in the game, how they handle the new the ability to review interference calls, because it is going to be an unmitigated disaster in the real NFL. So I can only imagine it's going to be even worse in Madden NFL 20.
So you're saying basically wait till we see what the next gen Madden looks like.
Yeah, because we are getting to that point too where you're probably gonna have to wait till next gen to see that big leap. Yeah. Although we didn't really even see it with this gen, honestly.
No, but one of the reasons I would think that there's so few new features in this is because they're putting new features in next year's for the system launches.
Yeah, I mean, and the good news about this, about 20, is that they've been working on these platforms now for like 5+ years. The game's dialed in. I didn't experience any bugs, although I bet there are some. Because every year there are crazy bugs in this game where players turn the size of a skyscraper or the size of a mouse or whatever.
I saw one great one where the guy, he tore his ACL, but the character model's foot was turned 360 degrees, so his knee was literally twisted in a spiral like a cartoon character, and like he's like grabbing it and they're carting him, and he's like, oh, he might be out for a couple games with that. And I'm like, yeah, it might be.
I'll say this: when I tore my ACL, that's what it felt like happened to my knee. Like I thought I was gonna look down and see it just twisted in like a pretzel. Yeah. So
now there's a bunch of compilations of like the best glitches so far, and they're all very, it's like the yearly like FIFA gay glitches.
Right.
Thing. It's very entertaining. Even if you don't care about the games, it's very entertaining just to see all the crazy animation problems.
Glitches in Madden are funnier and better than in other games. I think it's because it's based on something in reality, so you have a frame of reference. Maybe
I will never get tired of the FIFA glitches where like somebody does like some kind of dive or like celebration thing, and they just sort of slowly sink into the ground. Like for some reason, I find those the most entertaining. Like as a FIFA player slowly disappearing under the grass is one of my favorite glitches in video games.
Yep. So there you go, Madden NFL 20, no Switch version. Although we're getting NBA 2K, but yeah, EA hasn't really put FIFA. But FIFA this year on Switch is the same game as last year with updated rosters. So they're being really cheap about it.
And NBA isn't them.
Right,
so.
Yeah, NBA's 2K. So no Madden on Switch this year, PS4, Xbox One. We're starting to reach the law of diminishing returns with this franchise for this generation. As Matt said, if you only buy Madden every once in a while, you should probably just wait for the next-gen versions next year. Although, usually that first year of next-gen looks really good. But it's missing features, and it's usually the most buggy versions of the game as well.
I'm kind of hoping that somewhere in there EA knows it's time to step up to begin next gen, because I feel like they really had a pretty poor generation here.
I also feel like they still have never hit that target render that they showed 6 years ago.
That was more than 6 years ago.
Where it was what?
That was for the 360.
Right.
That was 2005.
Right. Yeah.
That was 14 years ago.
It was what Terrell Owens and the New York Giants.
In the snow. Yeah.
No, it was raining in the grass, remember? And they slide and like the water flies up off of the grass.
Oh, the thing I'm thinking of is it's a screenshot of like one guy on top of another guy like in a tackle.
I remember that too.
Snowing.
Yeah, I remember
that was the screenshot that made Penny Arcade coin the term bullshot.
Right, yeah. Well, there was a bullshot trailer as well. That they put out before that.
There's a lot of that going around.
They still never hit that, so I'm hoping that they can hit that with this next version. We'll see.
Maybe with ray tracing.
Yeah, but overall, I would recommend passing on Madden this year, unless you're at the point where you've already waited 2 or 3 years and you're at the stage where okay, this is where I usually buy another one. Don't hang your hat on the story mode, but the core of the game, the modes, the features, everything else is really solid and really good.
I think I've waited about 22 years at this point. So
what was the last Madden you played?
It was on PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Somewhere. It was like
when you were probably playing NFL Game Day instead.
Yeah, we played a lot of Game Day, and I think that's why we got Madden, was because we should get the new football game because we've been playing Game Day forever. And so I think we got Madden 96, which was an error on any platform.
Game Day was the better football game for PS1 by several magnitudes.
And then I did buy 2K and 2K1 on Dreamcast, and then it's probably the last football game I bought.
It's been a while, definitely. And I do not recommend that this is the one that breaks your streak.
I mean, I would be interested in a quality story mode like what they have been attempting. But it just doesn't seem like it's there.
I honestly wonder if they'll just ditch it after this year.
I feel like it can't possibly be helping them that much, and it's just a huge expenditure.
There's no reviews out for this yet, but I have a feeling that mode is going to get hammered in reviews. That's my impression. But I've been...
And then the people that made that mode are going to get hammered.
Yeah, I've been an outlier before, so it's possible, but I think this is one of those things that I think objectively most people are going to be like, it's trash. So... we'll see how it goes. Reviews should be coming out any day now, my guess is. So keep an eye out for that. But there you go. Madden NFL 20 coming out August 2nd. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Smash Brothers. Big day today for Smash.
Yeah.
Smash Brothers version 4.0 releases today. It's available now on Switch. The biggest update to the game since launch, I would argue. What would you say is the biggest feature of...
Well, I mean, the biggest feature is the new character.
You think that's the biggest thing?
To most people, I would say.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, there's good stuff in it, and like the tournament edition is good. Like the ability to do online tournaments adds a badly needed bit of something to the online play.
It's crazy because if you remember the beta, that's all there was, right? Wasn't it just? No, maybe I'm thinking Mario Tennis Aces. I'm thinking of.
I think that's Mario Tennis. Yeah.
Yeah, Mario Tennis Aces. But the tournament mode in this looks just like Mario Tennis Aces. It has the same visuals and structure and everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean. Efficient.
Yeah. Well, if you played Mario Tennis Aces, you'll be able to jump into this no problem and make use of it right away.
I think the Dragon Warrior Edition is a big deal, or Dragon Quest is a big deal, just because that is, I think, a very classic Nintendo franchise if you go back far enough, and I'll even be mentioning it in the next topic as well. But it helps complete kind of the roster of what seems to be, it's called Ultimate. It's supposed to be the Ultimate Smash Brothers. So I think that's a big deal, especially like being able to choose the different versions of them, from the different. Yeah,
so there's games. 4. Maybe explain how that works. There's 4 different characters, but
they're all just a Dragon Quest protagonists.
Yeah.
So they're from the different Dragon Quests, because there's a different, like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest is the same elements remixed every time. And so the different characters, so you have a different hero in each one, and so because that's sort of part of the deal. Each instead of alternate costumes, you basically have the different heroes from 4 different Dragon Quests.
That's pretty cool.
So you can see there that the guy on the left is from the current one, 11. I think that's the classic guy on the right.
The Final Smash.
You can see. This Final Smash brings all the
all of them together.
All the job classes together from the games. It's cool. I do like that the characters, like, if the characters are from a big kind of like large cast in the Smash Brothers, like they use the Final Smash and the various moves to sort of bring in everybody from that game to kind of make a little cameo, and that's fun. Yeah,
it is fun. Also, a new stage, which is what we're seeing right now.
Dragon Quest stage.
It's a moving stage.
Which everybody loves so much. This will not be in tournaments.
Yeah.
Usually.
Do you think Nintendo takes that into account when it makes stages?
I think sometimes. I mean, I'd rather have a fun stage that looks cool than something that's tournament legal.
Yeah.
Because I don't care about that. But there's like,
well, we're not esports stars.
There's it is fairly flat here, so maybe it might make it in. I don't know. The thing that gets you one of the ones disqualified was the it's Star Fox. It's something on a plane, and
Star Fox. You're on Great Fox.
But that's one of the old ones. This is one I think from the last game. And like you are on, it might be another Star Fox where you're on another, like an R-Wing or something, but you're constantly like moving, like it's doing barrel rolls and you're on it, so like the environment's moving around, and it actively like makes certain people nauseous. So that is banned in tournaments because like it's unfair to nauseate your opponent in order to beat them, which I thought was funny. I'm like, that's legitimate. That's a legitimate reason to disqualify something.
Yeah, for sure.
But so I don't know if this will make it into the roster of approved stages, but I sure think it's a cool like little tribute to the series.
I'm with you. I prefer stages like this that move around because look, I'm not the kid from Pennsylvania that just won $3 million at a Fortnite tournament. I just play for fun, and to me, the stages that move. I mean, look at that. I can see where that might make you motion sick a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
But I like the stages that move around. It mixes things up. Although one thing I would say is it does make it harder still to track your character, which is a problem I always have in this game. Is like, where in the hell is my character? Oh, there he is, falling off the stage to his death. And moving stages don't make that any easier. But I think they are more fun. They certainly inject a wild card into each match. Like if you're playing against people who are really good, sometimes stages like this give you a chance to maybe show up instead of just getting crushed every time. And I get why you want a still stage for esports tournaments and things like that and an even playing field, but if I'm just playing for fun, man,
I'd rather have all the items on and all the crazy shit happening.
I mean, that's Smash to me. Yeah. I mean, I get why they do it for esports tournaments, but I'm not an esports athlete. Memo, if you didn't get that memo. And then here's another new feature. There's a bunch of new Mii character stuff that comes from Dragon Quest. Do you ever play with Mii characters?
No.
Like in anything?
No.
No? I do.
I mean, unless it's like the only thing you can use.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the last time I did that.
I typically do. Like in Mario Kart, like my character is my Mii.
Nah, I would. If I were to play Mario Kart, I'd probably stick with Toad again.
Yeah.
I mean, always play Toad.
He's my main if I'm playing like a character that the game gives you.
Mm-hmm.
But I typically play with my Mii. And usually in any game that Nintendo offers me play, I do play with my Mii, which is maybe a little weird. And I did play Smash Brothers Ultimate with my Mii as well. So I think a lot of people might do the same thing. And obviously any additions that you can give them to help them customize and make them more in tune with what they like and what they enjoy, that's always a good thing. Here's a look at the tournament mode. Holy cow, can you get a lot of people in a tournament?
Yep.
That's insane. Like, that is so many. I mean, you could run your own esports tournament from that tournament mode right there, basically.
Yeah. We're coming up on EVO this weekend.
That's right. Yeah. What's the big headline for EVO this weekend? Is there one?
Smash Brothers.
In what way?
It's the final game on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So it's got the. Well, it's weird because it had the most entrants, so it kind of got the place of honor at the end of the tournament. But all the people that play like the normal fighting games and don't care about Smash are just like, oh, cool, I can go to bed early.
Oh, right.
So you got the Smash fans are like, yeah, we got the place of honor, and all the other fighting game fans are like, oh, cool, all the stuff I want to see is just going to be over, and then the Smash people go watch what they want to watch.
I can watch a TV show at night or whatever.
Pretty much. I mean, if you're in Europe, that stuff goes late, and
Yeah.
like it's smarter, I think, to put Smash at the end, both because you let the Smash people kind of go crazy for it at the end, and also you don't have to wait 4 hours between. Previous EVO. Finals Sundays the last few years have been like watch like Blaze Blue and Mortal Kombat or whatever, and then like go do something else for 4 hours while Smash happens, and then do another few hours, because if they did Melee and Smash 4 on the same day, it was like like we got nothing to watch for 6 hours. I don't care about watching Smash competitive.
Yeah,
and then you come back.
I never
Street
watched
Fighter.
Smash.
I don't.
EVO.
It's not interesting to me.
I mean, part of it might be that it's on the days. I usually what I do with EVO is I watch almost all day Sunday because it's all the finals, and that's when all the best players are left, and I can't spend a whole weekend watching a fighting tournament. So typically, like, I'll catch a little bit of Smash on Sunday, just kind of the grand finals or whatever. I'll watch that last match to see who the best Smash players are and see kind of how good they are and how terrible I am. But then I watch the big boys for the rest of the night, and that's pretty much my EVO watching. And I'm guessing a lot of people are the same.
I think so. I mean, the Smash community and the fighting game community are mostly separate things.
Yeah, they are.
It's just Smash didn't have another real venue for it, and then it proved to be popular. But I don't think most people don't believe there's a lot of crossover between the two. It's just there's nowhere else Smash fits.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, I guess they're getting better, but like for a long time Nintendo wasn't interested in helping or sponsoring, so like it made sense for Smash to kind of piggyback on the success of the fighting game community, because there were these big tournaments already happening and Smash kind of fit into them, and you might as well do it because it's a fighting game. So as much as uninterested in watching competitive Smash play as I am, I don't think you can deny it's a fighting game. I've been arguing.
Not.
Oh, I mean, that's.
I know there are people that argue that. Yeah,
but I've been on the side of Smash as a fighting game since the first game.
Oh, for sure, me too.
It's just a different kind of fighting game,
It's an arena brawler.
Yeah, I mean, I'd call Power Stone a fighting game too. It's, but I just don't care about it. I mean, there's plenty of fighting games I don't care about. It's not just Smash.
Oh,
I'm not going to watch a Time Killers tournament either. Well, actually, I might watch that because it's ridiculous. But.
W. Matthew said in the chat, and yes, we're going to be more active with chat during the show going forward. He says that stages generally don't get banned because they move; they get banned because of hazards.
Yeah, that's true. But the one stage that I can't actually remember the specifics on is banned because it makes people motion sick.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was. It's either F-Zero or like Star Fox or something, but it constantly is in motion. It's all like a first-person like dive through like an aerial thing or something. And I get it. Like it makes. Like I was surprised when I found that out, but I was like, oh yeah, I guess so.
So since Smash is the finisher, when is Street Fighter?
Street Fighter's right before it.
Okay.
So Street Fighter's probably like mid-afternoon. I haven't actually paid attention too much to the schedule. The schedule is, I think, 4 or 5 games. I think the schedule... Actually, it might be, early afternoon, because I think Tekken is second to last.
Really?
I think the schedule
What a changing of the guard.
I want to say the schedule is, on Sunday, is weird anime fighting game. I can't ever remember. It's like Under Night Stay Fate something. Blaze Blue, Street Fighter, Tekken 7, and Smash.
Wow.
I think that's what that is.
Flipped completely upside down.
There might be another game in there. So I know Mortal Kombat's not on Sunday.
It's at EVO, though, isn't it?
It is, but it's Saturday. It's a Saturday final.
Okay.
And I think Dragon Ball FighterZ is also a Saturday final. I don't think they're in Sunday, which is crazy because the hype for that game got killed flat by its own license holder in the space of a year.
It really did. I mean, I can't remember a new fighting game have that much momentum, period. No. And then to see it gone in 12 months' time, that is so horribly managed.
They just killed it.
They did.
There's nothing Bandai could do about it.
It's nuts.
So there you go.
And then there's rumors about EVO that Sony has some kind of an announcement.
Sony is sponsoring something for Sony is there for something.
EVO's pumping the tires on that pretty hard. I don't know if it's going to be one of those things where people tune in and they're like, really?
I mean, my guess, there's people like, Street Fighter 6. I mean, I made a joking
comment. They already said
about
that's not it.
It's not it. Well, no, what's his name? Just said, I don't have it. But he's promoted now, so he wouldn't have it. Was it what?
I thought Ono said that.
Ono said, I don't have Street Fighter 6. But he's not the one who'd be making Street Fighter 6 because he's an exec now. He's a higher level exec now. So it could be a red flag.
So there's a chance.
Could be red herring.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Saying there's a chance, but it's not a good one. The chances are, if Sony's there, honestly, it's probably a Tekken thing.
Yeah.
Tekken's a more Sony-related franchise. I don't see why you'd want to extend that Street Fighter deal after how Street Fighter V performed anyway. It worked out for Capcom because they got so much money from Sony, but didn't work out for Sony.
So yeah.
And then
I think it'd be good for everybody though if it doesn't happen.
The other question is there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of weird sort of hinting about another Marvel versus Capcom, which Sony potentially could get in on, especially in the wake of Nintendo getting their own exclusive Marvel game. Somebody I think it was Clockwork did some data diving on the source code for Marvel Infinite and found that there was like 61 characters planned and 18 stage. They had long range plans for that game that got killed because the game flopped, and which also means there's probably a bunch of assets you could just mix back into a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 and just do it better this time.
You're right. Yeah, it could work.
So that could be. But chances are it's going to be there's Kratos is in Tekken 7 or something. It's going to be something way less than what we're hoping. It's everyone's hoping for a crazy new game announcement, and we're going to get Heihachi can use Kratos' axe now.
Yeah,
it's going to be less than you expect.
Yeah. Or you may be right. Maybe just be Kratos is appearing in some.
The other super long shot is Sony has stepped in because of Tekken 7's success, and they're going to throw in some money to get Tekken Cross Street Fighter made.
Or
after all these years.
Or secure it as an exclusive or something like that going forward.
Well, if they did that would make it an exclusive.
Because Tekken was a PlayStation fighter.
Yeah. And Tekken 7 is doing really well, so capitalizing on if Sony's there for any reason, my guess would be they're there to capitalize on Tekken.
Okay.
And I say that as a non-Tekken fan. I just feel like that makes the most sense because Tekken is kind of killing it right now.
Yeah.
So
kind of crazy.
It's Tekken. When I used to cover EVO in person for G4. When the Tekken finals came on, even the people that were there to play, the competitive people, were like, Tekken's on. You want to go get dinner? It's it was literally the food break.
Right.
But now Tekken is the thing that you want to watch because Tekken 7 is way more interesting to watch than that game has ever been before.
Agreed.
So it's a totally different they've really tweaked that game to be more of a spectator sport, and it's paying off for them. So it's the landscape has changed a lot.
A lot in the last 12 months even.
Yeah.
It's surprising that Mortal Kombat isn't on the last day.
Yeah, I don't know quite what happened there.
Yeah, it's weird.
Maybe Warner Brothers just didn't step in with the you basically buy your place in the finals.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
Maybe Warner Brothers just hasn't decided
they're probably we made enough money off sales. We're good.
Yeah, they don't need it. Really.
I don't know that EVO sells games at all.
I don't think it. It sells accessories.
Yeah,
it sells fighting sticks
and stuff like that.
Yeah, but and it can legitimize a game that's struggling in the eyes of the community. Under Night Stay, whatever. I can't remember what the name of it.
Under Rebirth,
but
Overnight.
I'm aware of it because it made it into like the Evo stuff because they, the community wanted it there and stepped up for it. So it's a good story.
Yeah. Evo starts Thursday or Friday?
Pools should start Friday. I think everybody gets there Thursday. There might be like casuals streaming on Thursday night.
Yep. So we'll have it curated on Sifted beginning
unless they've
Friday.
expanded it to Thursday. I don't. If they did expand it to Thursday, I don't know. I think I saw Justin Wong complaining about something like that. Maybe.
Oh, really?
I honestly have not been paying a lot of attention to the schedule because I figure when it gets there, I'll just watch it.
Yep. But if you're interested, the big day Sunday. That's when all the grand finals happen. If you're really interested in Mortal Kombat, maybe check that out on Saturday. For the most part, you can tune in around like 1 o'clock on Sunday and then watch the rest of the day and see all the big stuff.
Oh, no, it's much earlier on Sunday.
I'm saying to not miss the big stuff. Like, no one's going to really care about that game you can't remember the name of.
Yeah, but it's actually pretty fun to watch.
It?
And that and Blaze Blue, like, it's interesting to watch the really good players play.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think Street Fighter is going to start pretty early. I think it might be as early as, it starts at 8. It might be as early as like noon. Yeah. Noon or 1, I think, is Street Fighter.
I know typically I tune in around noonish, 1 o'clock, and I usually get to see everything I really care about.
Yeah, I just think it's different this year.
Yeah.
If you tune in around noonish, 1 o'clock, you're going to catch like the tail end of usually Tekken and then the beginning of Smash Brothers in previous years, and this year it's all different.
Yep.
Street Fighter's happening much earlier.
Okay. So keep that in mind
and
again.
Not going to be on ESPN2.
Keep that in mind. Yeah, it'll probably be better for it, honestly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't on last year either.
Oh, I thought it was.
No.
I thought it was on TV.
They only did 2 years.
Oh, okay.
You can tell they weren't because Seth was back on the stream.
All right. Which is weird. Like, he's made for, like, TV. I think he is.
Oh, he's great. Like,
yeah.
I thought he and Mike Ross did a great job.
Yeah, for sure.
It was, I think that was who it was the first year. And then I think James Chen did it the second year with him.
Right.
And James Chen's great, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're all good, honestly.
They're some of the best around. So I'm sure it'll be Seth and James for the finals this year, and that's great. Like, Seth is one of the best commentators in esports.
I think he's the best.
He's
my opinion, but
you know who else is really good, and you never get to hear him because he's playing all the time? Is Justin Wong.
Really?
Justin Wong is a great commentator.
Well, at least he's gonna have a career after his
he knows
his reflexes go.
Yeah, well, I mean, you think they'd have gone by now, but he's
still hanging, man. It's pretty awesome.
He's got. If you want to tune in. I think it's Saturday will be the final. Tune in and watch him play Samurai Showdown. He's
been promoting it. Like, I think he was paid by them.
He wasn't, but he's also very good at it.
Yeah,
and he's very interesting to watch because if you really want to see why that game is interesting and why
why we care after all this time,
it doesn't feel like any other fighting game. Like, watch him play that thing. It's a totally different way of approaching a fighting game.
Yep. So it'll be curated on Sifted. Matt and I'll talk. We'll recap Evo on the show next Tuesday, and we'll talk about. Yeah, hopefully, there is a big announcement. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that went a little off the rails for Smash Brothers, but
well, no, I mean, I'm glad you brought it up. We should have talked about Evo anyway, and it just naturally transitioned into it. So
I also read that there's rumors, some 4chan post that was correct about the other DLC characters. The other characters they had listed were a Monster Hunter character and Doom Guy
for Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Which would be kind of amazing. Like,
I saw some reports from QuakeCon where people were blown away by how much Bethesda was promoting Nintendo.
Yeah, I think people kind of scoffed at the Doom Guy thing, but I think the relationship between Bethesda and Nintendo, that makes a lot of sense.
Apparently at QuakeCon, it was Switch 2-1 with any other platform.
Mm-hmm.
And people felt like it was almost like a co-branded event with Nintendo. That's how overt it was. So that lines up with Doom Guy coming into Smash. And at this point, I wouldn't say any character doesn't make sense for Smash.
No, I think after Cloud came in, all bets were off because Cloud had never even, I think, been on a Nintendo system. So
you can stylize characters in such a way that they're all going to fit in. And I mean, as far as what the characters do, there's really no limits at this point.
I mean, and in terms of clashing style, I mean, you already had that with Metroid versus Mario versus NES, in the original game, and I think Solid Snake and Melee proved that anything can work. Pretty much, so yeah, go for it. I think in Doom, Doom Guy's a piece of game history. The more Smash Brothers just seems to be sort of a big mashup of famous game things at this point. So why not put Doom in?
Yep. Wolfox 10JC in the chat says, "Why don't you host Evo on your Twitch channel?" Maybe we will. We should probably do more like re-hosting with our channel than we do. If any of you guys have Twitch channels and you have at least a little bit of a following, send me a link to your Twitch channel, and I'll go and check out. Make sure you have archives of your broadcasts there, and I'll go and check them out. And if it looks like you're doing some pretty high-quality stuff, we have no problem with hosting you guys. So you can send that stuff to me, DM me on the site at Shane, or you can send me a DM on Patreon, and I'll get back to you. So there you go. Smash Brothers version 4.0, biggest update yet. Seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Evo coming this weekend.
Good timing for Evo.
Yeah, so it's a big week for fighting games in general. And it's time to move on. We're going to talk next about, since we only had 4 days to get this show together, we're doing a fun topic today. There was a study that came out this week that determined that based upon 18 to 24-year-old young people, there are certain video games that they have found that are great to play with their significant other. And the top game on the chart was Mario Kart. And it got me thinking, okay, what games...
Not Mario, New Super Mario Brothers.
No.
Which should be called Divorce Mode.
No, Mario Kart was the winner, and it got me thinking, it's like, okay, well, you know, I'm not 18 to 24 anymore, unfortunately. That would be very nice if I were, but I'm not.
I don't know. Facing down that job market.
Oh, yeah. You mean if you're 18 to 24 trying to get
now,
a job?
yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of kids coming out of college that can't get jobs, so they're all working like 3 minimum wage jobs or whatever. But maybe their student loan debt's going to be wiped away. that might happen. But anyway, it got me thinking, even at my age, are there games that still can be kind of that conduit between my wife and I to help our romance? And that was the word that they used, like which games help romance between two people?
Okay, well, that's a question I don't know what you're talking about, because it's a pastime.
Yeah, but sharing pastimes with your significant other can engender romance, I think.
Yeah.
It can bring you closer together, for sure. Mario Kart
doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. And so Mario Kart was the winner, and I started thinking about my picks, and I was like, well, I bet Matt has different picks than I do. And so we're going to share with you, both of us, 2 games that we feel like helps us in our relationships grow closer or be more romantic with our significant others. I'm going to start, and my first pick is Mario Kart. There's a reason why it came in number 1, and for me, absolutely, it's number 1. I cannot think of another game that I've played more with my significant other than Mario Kart, and I think for 2 reasons. 1, it's very approachable. You can play it with 2 buttons, basically, gas and actually just 1. You don't even really need the brake. You can play Mario Kart just holding the gas button and tilting the analog stick around the track. And I think that is something that made my wife become interested in it, because I'm like, it's 1 button. You can handle it. And then she played it. She's like, you're right, it is 1 button. But wait a minute. How are you sliding around all the turns? Don't worry about that. Just worry about the gas button and staying on the track. The other thing, too, is that my wife looks like Princess Peach. So she immediately, when any game that has Princess Peach in it, she'll play it. It's really bizarre. Like, I got her a Game Boy Advance SP in Japan that was Princess Peach, and I got her that god-awful Princess Peach game that came out for it. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
What was it called? Princess Peach?
Super Princess Peach.
There's some... Anyway.
And, like, one of her superpowers was, like, hysterically crying.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I wouldn't get away with that in the West, but...
They did. They put it out in the West.
With that in it?
Yeah.
Did they?
That's how I played it.
But I came back with that, and she was over the moon. She's like, oh my gosh, this is like one of the best gifts you ever got me. And so I got her that. I got her like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or something like that. And she played it for about a week and then packed it away, and I haven't seen it since. So somewhere in her closet, there's a collector's version from the Pokemon Center that probably might be worth some money at this point, but she doesn't care. But just because it was Princess Peach, she actually played the Princess Peach game for a while before she gave it up. Mario Kart, she plays Mario Kart. She plays as Princess Peach. It does look a lot like my wife, and I think she like looks at it and is like, that's me. So she hasn't played Mario Kart in a while now.
Time to move on to cosplay.
Yeah, during the N64 era, she was into it. Like, we'd have people over, and we'd play Mario Kart all night, and she'd be the one of the people sitting there playing all night, waiting for her turn. She played battles, she played races, and then she played Double Dash a good bit, And then from there, she started weaning off of it. But without a doubt, the one game that I've played the most with my wife, my significant other, is Mario Kart. What's your first pick, Matt?
Well, the first pick in general was probably just RPGs. But like to narrow it, I knew you were going to want a specific game, so then I narrowed it down to Kingdom Hearts. That's probably the game, because I haven't played a lot of competitive or even co-op games with my girlfriends over the years, because most of them don't want to play with me. Like, there's a whole thing where they're like, "Oh, you're going to beat me."
It depends on how competitive they are.
Or if it's like a co-op thing, they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to be good enough to keep up with you," or whatever. And I'm like, "I don't care. It doesn't matter."
Do you like helping your significant other in co-op games get through?
I don't know. I haven't really done much of it.
I do.
They don't play with me like that. Also, for a long time, the co-op wasn't feasible because we only had like one system, one TV in the house,
right?
That kind of thing. So the most I've played of anything with girlfriends over my lifespan is JRPGs.
Wow. My wife would not touch a JRPG.
The first game I ever played with a girlfriend was with my first girlfriend in high school. Like first serious girlfriend, and I came over to her house and she's like, "You want to play Dragon Warrior?" And we played Dragon Warrior. She had Dragon Warrior 3 on her Nintendo, and we played Dragon Warrior 3 like start to finish.
Winner!
Over the course of like a month or something. So that was fun. And like that's sort of like, whenever I get a new JRPG, my girlfriend now like would always, she likes anime stuff and she likes all that stuff anyway, so she'd knit and watch me play, and she would care about the story and pay attention to the characters. And I think Kingdom Hearts is the stuff probably like I played most extensively when all of them came out. Not 3, because 3, she's kind of over it at this point. But
yeah,
she keeps.
I think a lot of people were.
She keeps saying, "She's like, oh, I got to get around to 3. I got to play 3." Like she's brought her copy of 3 to friends' houses to let them play it, but she hasn't played it herself. So she's more of a Kingdom Hearts 3 conduit than an actual Kingdom Hearts 3 player. But I didn't finish 3 either. I did. I stalled out some halfway through. So I played 1.
The Disney angle obviously is
I played
a big
1
hook.
and 2 definitely with her. Like 100% of the 2 of those with her on the couch with me. I watched her finish Final Mix, the Japanese versions of Final Mix for Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2 on the PlayStation 2, because she had a Japanese PS2 that she used to play those. She's hard. Like import stuff. She's hardcore. I mean, she's
core.
She plays like all the Idolmaster games in Japanese.
Oh wow!
I mean, I'm cheating a little bit here because like I don't have to convince her to play games. We just play different games.
Right.
And now she's like,
I do have to convince.
Now she's like 2,000 hours into Overwatch. So like,
yeah.
But it's, like I said, I don't play Overwatch. It's like right now she mostly just wants to play Overwatch and Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
But so we play a lot. I mean, if you name a JRPG from the last like 18 years, I probably played it with her watching.
Wow.
She also would do that with Assassin's Creed. She loves Assassin's Creed, but
my wife likes Assassin's Creed because of the historical stuff.
Yeah, she does. Same.
Believe it or not, my wife also likes Call of Duty. Because when I play multiplayer, the maps are set all over the world, and she has fun trying to look at the map and guess where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, she does. She's never watched me play a lot of first-person shooters because she doesn't care about first-person shooters. It didn't until Overwatch.
Yeah.
But Overwatch is a kind of a different thing.
It is,
from like watching somebody play Doom or Halo.
Or Call of Duty.
And she's very susceptible to motion sickness, so if she's watching someone else play a first-person game, it can get to her. But JRPG, I mean, the Tales games, the Shadow Hearts games, most Final Fantasies, most of the Assassin's Creeds. Like Assassin's Creed she likes, and she does play some of them herself, but like I think she's also a little reticent to commit that kind of time to playing something that long, and so she just
because those games just keep getting longer.
They do. I mean, she's a big fan of Egypt, so she loved Origins, but she didn't watch me play much of that. I think she wanted to play that herself because it's her time period she loves the most. But yeah, so I think like Kingdom Hearts was the most successful thing, like, or at least the thing that we both stayed interested in long enough to finish everything and play most of this year until they went handheld, in which case like. Two people can't crouch over a PSP for like 40 hours. It's not a good idea. Yeah. Just for your back. Yeah, I would say that was like kind of the key. It's like JRPGs have been oddly enough, been the largest bonding tool game wise with everyone updated.
Interesting. Now, do you think she would play a JRPG cooperatively with you if the feature was there?
maybe. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, she's not into playing with me. I think she well, maybe now, I don't know. Like,
She's like us.
a little bit, yeah. But also just like she always had a thing where she's just like, no, you play these things like an expert or whatever, which I don't. I'm not. You watch someone play like a speed run or something, I'm like not like that. She would never play fighting games with me, and she worked on some of them.
Yeah, I could see that though. You're really good at fighters.
I'm not that. I mean, I'm better, too good to play with my friends, and not good enough to play competitively.
To play pro.
I'm kind of,
you're in that middle.
I think there was a hardtimes.net article, like parody article about that, where it's just like you hit that middle point.
You're in no man's land
where you're good enough to beat anyone casually, but you just don't have the patience or
care enough
or motivation to practice enough to be good enough for a tournament. Also, if I want to be in a tournament, I have to drive like 30 miles south to Irvine. And it's just like on Wednesday, and I'm just like,
not happening.
I used to go to Wednesday night fights when it was near the LAX, and it was at the Proud Bird. But then they moved to a much bigger, much nicer venue down at the esports arena down in down by Irvine. Which is absolutely a better place for them to be, but not a better place for me to visit them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the situation there.
Okay. Well, my second pick is Guitar Hero / Rock Band.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Honestly,
I keep forgetting that series existed.
Because it's like gone now.
It's
actually not gone. Like, they put out new trailers for those games every week.
Rock Band 4 still happens. Rocksmith just got an update thing. Like, they're still there. It's just they're just not part of the zeitgeist anymore.
But I'll be perfectly honest, there's no game better. If you're a male hoping to attract a female through games, I don't think there's any better game than Rock Band or Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah, I have some friends that they when they first started dating, one of their earliest dates was strip Rock Band.
Oh.
Strip Guitar Hero.
I can't say I've ever done that, but
whoever had the lower score at the end of the song had to remove clothing, basically.
But what puts Rock Band and Guitar Hero over the top, even over Mario Kart for me, in all honesty, is that I cannot just convince my wife to play those games. Her friends, when they come into town, will play it. So her girlfriends from the Bay Area, from when we lived up there, they'll come down and visit us sometimes, and they came and played like 3 years. They come down, they're like, let's play Rock Band. I'm like, there.
You're like, where is that?
I don't even know where that stuff is anymore. Like the guitar,
like,
I don't know where
the guitar. It's just rotted batteries everywhere.
Yeah, and like there's battery acid all over it. Like, I don't even like have that stuff available to play anymore. But they would play all night. All night.
I should break out the drums again, because I never played drums in Rock Band because I lived above someone. Like, I tried it once, and she came up after the woman who lived below me came up after like 5 minutes. Was like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Oh, fine." I thought I might be able to get away with it, but I didn't.
Nope.
So. But now I live in my own house, so I could probably just drum.
I learned how to play drums in Rock Band. I learned how to play with my feet and my hands. And I had been in bands growing up, like from like 15 to like 20. I was in 3 different bands. I had never learned how to play drums. I can play bass, I can play some guitar, and I would sing. Drums were the one thing I couldn't do, and I learned how to play drums with Rock Band. As far as like breaking that mental hurdle of doing one thing with your feet and doing something else entirely with your hands. And it just took repetition. And there was just that one moment where I broke through. I'll never forget it. That one time where it's just like, I'm doing it, my hands are doing one thing, my feet are doing the other, I can play drums, and then I just got better and better after that.
So only you'd hit that moment in Bloodborne.
No, I never did. But look, she would play that with me even if there was no one around. She'd be like, she just want to sing.
Yeah, we did play a lot of Rock Band.
So she'd just sing and karaoke, and I'd play the guitar or whatever instrument I wanted to play. And then when, like I said, like
although sometimes she was too shy to sing, so she'd like turn away and sing quietly into the microphone, and it would still register on the thing, but I just couldn't hear anything. I'm like, all right, that's
funny.
And she found some songs she liked. That was a good way to expose yourself to music you wouldn't have heard otherwise. So.
Yeah, and I mean, look, when you've dated someone or have been with someone, as long as I've been with my wife, like, you have your songs that you two share. Like, once you have your wedding, you have, like, the song that you do your dance to and all that stuff. But there's just songs throughout your relationship history that you're like, remember when we were here and this song played and blah, blah, blah. A lot of those songs appear in those games. So while you're playing them, you're like, we're singing our song. And that absolutely builds a bond between the two people. So Mario Kart deserves the win, I think, because for most people, I think it is the game that probably ingratiates itself to the other species more often.
The other species?
Or whatever, the other sex. But Rock Band...
The female of the species. We're making a boys reference today.
Right. Rock Band, for me personally, was the one that just broke down all the barriers, where she was coming to me and saying, hey, I want to play this. So, to me personally, that's the game that generated the most romance. What's your second pick, Matt?
My second pick is probably Uncharted.
Uncharted? Interesting.
And to the point that Sony actually did advertise Uncharted with this. If you remember, Uncharted 3, there was an ad where the guy's going to play Uncharted, and his girlfriend's running around. It's like, it's time for more of that movie we watch every night.
Yeah, I do remember
and
that.
He's like, she thinks it's a movie. I don't know what to... And like...
don't ask any questions. Just...
and I mean, it could kind of be a stand-in for sort of the cinematic Sony stuff.
Yeah.
But she would watch me play Uncharted. She loved the characters. She has no interest in playing like a duck and cover shooter.
Yeah.
It's just not her thing.
Well, the whole romance angle is so heavy.
She wants to see like this Indiana Jones style adventure story, and she wants to see what happens to these characters.
Yeah. And I would argue that the love in that game is written very, very well.
Yeah, the Elena stuff with him, for the most part, is I don't think it was very well done in 4, but when Amy Hennig was writing it, it was extremely good.
That's true. So I can understand that. I could see where, I remember in Uncharted 3, there's that one scene where Drake and her are talking at like a fence, through the fence, and I remember I got choked up in that scene, like the two of them talking. So yeah, I can absolutely see where
I think that's the scene where you find out that between games they got married.
Maybe
it's around there. Yeah,
it's sad that I can't remember it. If it affected me that much, I should remember exactly what
Uncharted
the scene was
3
about.
didn't stick in the memory quite as much as some of the others.
Yeah,
I remember the rolling ocean liner sequence, and the sand sex sequence, and that's about it.
That ocean liner sequence. Holy crap!
Pretty great. I don't have any proof of this, but I still believe that the ocean liner sequence is so out of nowhere in that game narratively that I still feel like the story changed drastically from the beginning of the game when they began development. But they were far along. They started that ocean liner scene at the beginning, and by the time they got to the point where we might want to change, we can't change it. We're almost done with it. Because the same thing happened with the train sequence in 2. The train thing was the first thing they started and the last thing they finished.
Yeah.
So I feel like that ocean liner sequence was happening come hell or high water, no pun intended. And whether the story made sense with it or not, there was going to be an ocean liner sequence in Uncharted 3.
Well, I'm glad that they put it in there because
it's a great scene.
It's honestly one of the best levels I've ever played in a video game. The technology going on inside that level is like mind-blowing.
Yeah, that and the train sequence, people do not appreciate just the levels of physics
that are going on.
How many different versions of the physics engine have to interact with different versions of itself. You've got the world, but then you've got the tracks on the train and its momentum around the tracks,
train wheels
and the wheels and the suspension of the train and the characters on the train and the objects on the train that are being acted upon by the gravity of the planet and also the gravity and the centripetal force of the moving train, and then things get blown up, and then it's ridiculous.
That carried over to 4 as well, because if you remember, the Jeep had the tanks in the back, and the tanks,
the Jeep had that.
Most video games, those tanks are welded.
Oh yeah, they'd be conveniently strapped down.
Not in a Naughty Dog game.
Naughty Dog. And Lost Legacy has a train sequence near the end that I think gives 2s a run for its money. They do nothing else. But that's the thing is and it's a criticism that some people have that watching Uncharted is almost as fun as playing it. More fun in some ways because you don't have to deal with the stupid, weird headshot problems here and there. But certainly, it's more fun to watch someone deal with a damn Yeti in Uncharted 2. Because I don't like it when they bring in the weird monster stuff,
the supernatural stuff.
I don't mind doing supernatural stuff in a game like that. But the problem is every time they've done it, it breaks the combat.
It does,
and it's well, that's not fun anymore. But yeah, that was a kind of when a new Uncharted game would come out, it would be we're going to sit down and play this. It was sort of similar to Assassin's Creed, although there's more cinema in Uncharted. Until Uncharted 4. When I didn't really enjoy it, and she didn't like Sam Drake any more than I did, and that was kind of the end of the Uncharted viewing.
I liked Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4 sort of killed Uncharted in my household.
Wow, that's crazy. So,
although I did like Lost Legacy a lot.
Yeah. So chat is sharing their romantic games.
Wii Sports, that's a good one.
Yeah, that is good. She also played. My wife also played a ton of Wii Sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Wii Sports was just everyone. Like, anyone would play. I mean, I remember parties where like people would just like people of every imaginable like interest that I knew, everyone just get together and play Wii tennis for hours and hours and hours, and Wii bowling.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter. Like, people that I never played a video game with before,
that's what we did, though. It was the same era. So we'd play Rock Band until people got tired of Rock Band, and then we play Wii Sports.
Same with
for a little year bit, straight, pretty much.
For a little bit, the Kinect. So I remember going back it was a New Year's party, like right when the Kinect was a thing.
Yeah.
And my friend had it at his place, and he had a New Year's party. And I played. I think it was
the whitewater rafting one.
No, it was like a soccer thing.
Oh yeah. The header where you just headed in.
I played that with my friend Garrett, who I went to high school with. I'd known him for almost 20 years, and we had never played a game. He didn't care about video games. He was an outdoor guy. He doesn't care about video games. He's like, oh, I'll play this
because it's active.
And like we finished it, and like I remember my friend was like, you just played a game with Garrett. Like, that's crazy. And everyone like took turns playing it with Garrett because like no one had ever played a video game with him
Hell had frozen over at
pretty
that
much.
point.
And I'm like, man, that was for a second there I was a believer in Kinect because I'm like, God, if I can get Garrett to play it, because his kids played, and so he'd play it with them, and he's like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty fun. Like, he never touched a video game before.
Wow.
So that got him in. And then it went away, and he never played anything again. Like, for a brief shining moment in time.
Yep. The best moment of his life. Let's see. Here's some of the stuff the chat's mentioning. Emperor of Dread says, I got a lot of action out of Team Fortress 2.
Huh.
Heavy medic combo is perfect for a couple.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah. Absolutely. Potty 2, Pokemon Emerald for me. J. Reed Vic says, my sister and I used to play Sims as a team. So, yeah, there's definitely some...
I used to watch my girlfriend play Sims. I couldn't play with her because she would mod her Sims install on her computer was like 5 or 6 gigs of mods, because she had very intricate stories to tell. Like, she played it the way Will Wright used to talk about it, those keynotes at like the fancy...
the way that nobody played it.
You know, like when he would like do charts of how stories work, and you're like, have you played The Sims? Because it's just trapping them in the pool and watching them drown. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
But like she had different characters and designed different things, and this is a vampire, and he's a werewolf, and this is Starscream, and they all live in the house, and Starscream's in love with the vampire. And I'm like, how do you make it all? She's like, oh, you just tweak the stats and da-da-da. I'm like, and it was like, it was seriously like watching a story. Like, she made up stories in these and had them play it out, and it worked. Like, I could never get my frickin' Sim to go to work on time.
I know. But they just die. She
played out full soap operas in these custom built houses she had. It was crazy.
Other people are bringing up Mario Party. That's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, I used in college,
Overcooked.
In college, with my girlfriend in college, we used to play You Don't Know Jack a lot. The trivia game, which is back now as kind of the party pack thing. We used to play the originals in that, and until she got tired of me beating. Eventually, the movie one was outlawed because there was no way to beat me at that. The other thing is, I don't know why, but she and my other friend Tiff used to come over and watch me play TIE Fighter because they like Star Wars. And I remember one time they were over, and they were there for like hours while I played TIE Fighter, and we just talked and then they left. And I remember my suite mate from across the bathroom, like we shared a bathroom with like another suite, and he came across and he's like, dude, can I ask you something? Like, well, he's like, how do you get women to come over and watch you play Star Wars video game? Like, what the hell is that? And I'm just like, well, they're not here for the video. They're just here to hang out, and they just, that's.
It just so happens that these games are being played.
Yeah, and like they like to watch it while we're talking. And he's like, you talk to them, huh? And like, it was like he learned something that day. I guess he was just like, he's like, talk to them. Wow. And like he's like, I'm gonna think about that. I'm like, you do that.
Hey, ZNAR88, thank you for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Killzone 310, haven't seen you for a while, brother. Thank you for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Freeze Frame Rate says Until Dawn.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like
anything where you make choices, I think, is a good one. You can make the choices together.
Yeah, I would say Mass Effect and Dragon Age are in there too. Actually, I know way more women who are Dragon Age fans than men. And it actually just happened again.
I could actually see that.
It happened again. I was in a. How's this for nerdy? Saturday, I spent most of Saturday playing a pen and paper Shadowrun campaign with a bunch of people, And at one point, Dragon Age came up, and all the girls were just like, "Oh, Dragon Age! Really? They're gonna do another Dragon Age? They love Dragon Age.
Wow.
Because Dragon Age addresses and deals with relationship elements that just don't come up in
That's true.
games for boys, quote unquote. And like a couple times, I've said like, I don't really like Dragon Age very much, and they're like, "Well, it's not for you." Like,
interesting.
They're like, we get our,
they feel like it's made for them.
Yeah, they feel like it's more geared to what they're interested in. I'm like, that might actually explain it. Like, because the gameplay doesn't do anything for me. And with Mass Effect, even if I didn't like the gameplay, I'd like the characters. But I am not as interested in the character dynamics in Dragon Age. But it sure seems to work for the women that I know that are willing to play a game like that. And I remember I was hanging out with one of my friends, and her mom was there, and her mom is a big Dragon Age fan. Now, her mom, to be fair, her mom is like your age.
Oh, okay.
Because now you can be friends with someone who's almost 30, and their mother is our age.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
That's how old we are.
Yeah, that's how old we are.
And at one point I kind of got into like kind of a thing. It's like this, and I didn't like with this relationship with this person in this game, and then because I'm talking about Inquisition because I just replayed it like earlier this year, and like you could see her mom's eyes light up. She's like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad we're talking about this." like I want to talk about when I dated the lizard guy in Mass Effect, and it's like it's like it's a thing. If you
She's a MILF.
Yeah. Mother-eyed lizard.
That's it.
She's super into that, and she plays those games for the character relationships. And I'm like, have you heard about visual novels? I could ruin your life if you can tolerate the anime designs.
I think this is something that a lot of players struggle with, though, is how. One, I think a lot of people struggle thinking I can't find a significant other because I like games as much as I do, or because I play games as much as I do. That's not true.
No, that's a misnomer. That's not a misnomer. That's not what that word means. But it's a misconception.
Yeah, the way they always approach it is, look, there's things that you like to do with your free time. Your girl likes to knit. Some people are really into television shows. They really like movies. They really like to read. You like to play games. And I find that diffuses pretty much every anti-gaming position ever. Yeah. You have what you like to do in your free time. I have what I like to do on my free time. As long as neither of us are hurting anybody, we're both all good.
Well, it also helps if it's not the only thing you do.
Sure, yeah. Diversify.
You got to have more to you than just this one hobby.
Well, chances are, if you don't have more to you than just one hobby, you're never going to talk to a girl anyways.
Right. And
the rest doesn't even matter.
And that has nothing to you could be super into baseball, and it would still be a problem for the same reason.
Yeah, if you didn't love anything else but baseball, absolutely.
Unless you found someone who just
was also a hardcore
loved baseball.
Fan. Yeah,
and.
The internet's good for that.
Yeah, it can be.
Back when we were kids, man, like
at E3,
you're on an island.
At E3, I actually met someone. She is a super hardcore NBA fan.
Oh.
And she's like, it's a problem. Like I'll date a dude and he'll realize I know more about basketball than him, and he'll never call me
bail.
So she's like, I'm looking for the hardest core NBA fan I have in the world, and that's basically my match. And I'm just like, that's hard. Like that's And
my wife is also a hardcore Pittsburgh fan.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, I've been to Super Bowl parties where where the Steelers are and you're both there, and I'm like everybody just back away. Everybody just let Shane and his wife just do the thing.
But I'll say this, like,
you get a terrible towel in the eye.
Yeah, I've been hardcore my whole life, literally since I was like 4, like just hardcore. And Michelle grew up in the area, so she's always been a Pittsburgh fan. But just in the last, 3 or 4 years, she has gone to, super fan status. I don't know what happened, but it's to the point now where she is more bummed out and gets more into it than I do.
Wow.
Which is crazy. And I'm not exactly sure what happened to change her. She started playing fantasy football as well a while ago, and maybe that ties into it somehow. I don't know. But she has become more.
Fantasy football's a hell of a drug.
It is. But she has become more of a fan over the last few years. If you watch a game with the two of us now, you would argue that she's the bigger fan than I am. Because I'm like the old guy who understands that one play doesn't change that much. She's still at the stage where every play is life or death. And so I'm like, oh, they lost 2 yards. That's okay. They'll get it back on the next play.
But it's 2 yards.
But she's like, they lost 2 yards. So it's been interesting to watch kind of the evolution of fandom as time goes. And I'm sure that applies with gaming and stuff like that as well. So So there you go. Thanks for supplying your picks in the chat as well. It's interesting to see what you guys think are games that help you with significant others. And it would be interesting, too, to get a female's perspective of a core gamer, a female core gamer, and what she thinks is a game that she can use as kind of a gateway game to get a guy to play games with her.
Majora Tom, we'll see how much of a super fan you guys remain when the Steelers start to collapse. I'm like, oh, it will remain.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, man. See, you forget I lived through the 1980s where the Steelers were abysmal. And so when people tell me they're a Steelers super fan, I ask them when they became a fan. And if it was after 1990, then I say you are not a super fan because all you've had is just victory.
What if they were born in 1991?
No.
They still haven't.
They've never had to suffer.
Yeah.
They've never had to suffer. I suffered through an entire decade. And you have to realize I came into that decade as like a child. Mm-hmm. So I grew up as a kid watching the Steelers just win. Like I was so young and so naive that they just won. And so when they started to lose, I could not process it. I couldn't deal with it. They won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years as I was a little kid. And so they just won. That's what they did. And so the 80s just devastated me because I just thought the Steelers were just the best. I didn't know anything about football or anything.
God before us, who could be against?
Yeah, exactly. And I couldn't compute it, man. And like the first year they were really bad, every time they lose, I go in my bedroom and cry. And then my sister would come in and point at me and laugh.
I wish I cared that much about anything.
That
is amazing to me that sports fans get so unhappy and so upset and
stressed out. I was 5 years old. You got to realize
I know 35-year-olds who do that when their team loses.
It's possible.
I mean,
yeah.
You know that.
But you got to realize they were my heroes. I mean, Terry Bradshaw, all those, they were like gods to me. And so I couldn't even understand how anybody could beat them. Like literally it was like Team Olympus to me. Like, they're gods. Nobody can beat the Steelers.
I mean, they were really good.
They were, but still, and you're 4 years old, it's like you get wrapped up in this world of, like, this is just the way it is. In the 80s, man, oh, my God.
I mean, I grew up around...
It taught me a lot, though, about not just sports and football, but life. It's like, things aren't always what they seem.
I mean, I don't care about football, but, like, I grew up in San Francisco in the Joe Montana years.
The Niners, when they had their dynasty.
Oh, yeah. And, I didn't live what you lived, but I definitely saw it happen, and I saw them, I saw Montana left, and Young came in, and when Young was over, the Niners were over. Basically.
That's pretty much how it works. You lose your quarterback.
Devastated my grandfather. Like, he couldn't believe that was how it was going to end, basically. Yep. And even me, I mean, I ran into Joe Montana in a warehouse, as in WHE, the music store, the warehouse. Anybody remembers that?
Yeah.
It's even older than Tower Records. I ran into him in a warehouse once in Redwood City, and even I was like, oh my God, it's Joe Montana. Like, it was like I didn't even care about the football, but Joe Montana was the closest thing to, like you said, like an Olympic god walking around like a normal person.
Yeah.
And then at some point, and then because he was in the store and looking at stuff, and then his wife, Jennifer, who was, everybody knew her too.
Yeah.
The statuesque blonde lady.
Yeah.
She like bought whatever she was going, and she's at the door of the warehouse, and she turns and goes, Joe. And he's like, "Oop, gotta go."
like, even she still rolls.
I mean, he was clearly just browsing around, but he's like, "Oop, gotta move."
But to answer your question, Majora Tom, count out the Pittsburgh Steelers at your own peril. Everyone's hating on the Steelers right now because they lost Antonio Brown. Just watch.
Yeah, but also
we'll see what happens.
If you think Shane's a fair weather sports fan, you don't know anything about Shane.
Yeah, they could go 0-16 this year, and it wouldn't change a thing. I probably wouldn't say watch out, discount the Steelers at your own peril.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a lot of spontaneous screams of big nasty D. Yeah. But the terrible towel might be carefully washed and folded somewhere.
No, I would still wave the terrible towel. Win or lose, you wave the terrible towel. All right.
Did you go to I can't remember if you went to the one wedding of the Dana and Brian, and because they're from...
No, I didn't. If you're asking me if I went to a terrible towel wedding,
yes,
I have not.
The things they gave out were the terrible wedding towel. It was literally like you waved the terrible towel when they came down the aisle.
That's awesome.
They were. I guess you weren't there, but I thought of you.
No, that was a missed opportunity for our wedding, unfortunately. All right, let's move on. I'm sure
you should do.
We probably lost half our audience talking about sports.
You should do like a re-wedding, like a renewal of your vows, and do the terrible towel.
Absolutely. Oh, we will. If we ever do that, I promise you that will definitely be the theme of the renewal. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about the last game for GameFace 175.
We didn't lose people. They're just arguing over who the greatest is.
Oh, the greatest what is?
Football people.
Oh, the Steelers. 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. Never been done. Never be done again. Anyway, Steelers of the 70s anyway. We're going to talk about the last game of the week, and that is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Game. This is the game that we mentioned at the top of the show that I said has a chance at Game of the Year. Probably not really, but it's one of the highest scoring games so far of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to have on your fantasy team.
Oh, for sure. I think our league's over now.
Looks like it.
I would need Gears to get like a perfect 10, I think, and and after playing the beta, that's definitely not happening. So yeah, let's talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses. You're probably reading the lower third there, and you're like, what does that mean? And in my opinion, this game is a perfect cross-section of Harry Potter and Persona 5.
Now, that's the exact comparison I've been making.
Oh, okay.
Playing it. It's Harry Potter meets Persona meets Fire Emblem.
Yeah. It's not.
Which is a good thing for the most part.
It is, yeah.
But, yeah, it's different. It's definitely a shift for the series. I think it's a good shift. I like what they've done with most of it.
It's going to broaden its audience big time.
For sure.
Yeah.
The production values are sky high. I am a little disappointed.
Oh, really? You think the production values are sky high?
For a Fire Emblem game? Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's a low bar, though.
But, it's on a Switch.
I think it's an ugly game, though. Other than the anime stuff. The anime's awesome, but...
I think it looks okay.
Yeah. It looks better than it did when they first showed it. I'll say that much.
I like the outfits, the designs of the clothes and everything. I mean, the characters don't really fit in the environments very well. The animation's very stiff. Your main character.
Oh my god, the drawing and the LOD.
Oh, the drawing and
it's so bad.
Like the frame rate gets real framey, like just when you turn a corner in the monastery you're living in.
Yeah.
Because between battles, like you can have like a big kind of wander around the monastery, like which is basically Hogwarts, and
maybe we should set up the story
down to the dining hall and the meat. I mean, it's Hogwarts. Like it's very much Hogwarts.
Let's actually set up the plot for the game before because that's probably a good way to set a frame of reference for it.
Well, you're the son or daughter, depending on who you pick, of a mercenary captain guy who's got a big reputation, and you save these 3 students that are running from bandits, and it turns out that they're from this academy that your father used to be a captain at. And they bring you back to the monastery. That's the place. The academy is kind of the campus. And he agrees to be a captain again and help them out. And you for some reason as like a 20-year-old.
I can't tell how old you're supposed to be.
You're like 18, 20. I think you're roughly the same age as the students. But for some reason they make you a professor.
Are the students supposed to be 18 to 20?
They're like 15 to 17 to 18.
Yeah.
It's
hard to tell.
Their ages are all in their bios.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And they're all like 15 to 18.
Oh, okay.
So they're like upper high school, like late high school. You don't have a birthday. Like your character basically has a question mark by birthday, but you're clearly like early 20s at the most. Like because your father's like 40, so you're not that old. But for some reason, you're made a professor because you have lived the mercenary lifestyle, and your father's like the greatest warrior ever. So
they just
clearly, you must be badass.
That the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Clearly, you must be able to work up a syllabus, apparently. And yeah, I don't know. So the monastery is at the center of this continent, and there's 3 major powers on the continent. There is the Holy Kingdom of something. There is the Royal Empire of something else, and the
that stuff's hard to follow.
And I can't remember what the other one is. The Orange Guys is like the orange. So it's the Orange Guys is like fake England. The Empire is like fake Germany, and the Blue Guys are like fake France.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is.
Yeah,
and very early on, they basically say, pick one.
You have to pick one of the 3 houses. Yeah,
pick one of the 3 houses to be the professor for, and you basically pick. You can pick based on characters you like, or what their specialties
their general
are,
specialties,
or what color you prefer.
But it doesn't really pigeonhole you into one thing.
No, you can change what people study and how they level up, however you want. And if you play your stats right, you can recruit every other character from the other houses to your house over
eventually.
The course. It takes a long time, but it's a good
yeah.
thing to do because it means you won't have to fight them from a rival house later.
Which house did you choose? And we're seeing actually the 3 houses
Golden
right
Deer,
now.
that's what it was.
I chose Blue Lions.
I picked the Black Eagles,
Okay.
the red one, because because the Golden Deer is mostly archers, and I hate archers in Fire Emblem games because they're so squishy, and I always screw up the spacing on them, so I'm like, I don't want them, and I thought the kid who runs the Blue Lions is a tool, so I kind of defaulted to the Black Eagles. Now, the Black Eagles are mostly magic-based, which has been a challenge for me because I also don't like magic. I like to hit things with an axe.
Yeah,
in Fire
you don't
Emblem.
like ranged characters.
Right, not a huge
generally.
ranged character person, but I've kind of figured it out and worked around it. And actually, the magic in this Fire Emblem, like the changes to it, are much preferred.
Powerful.
Very powerful as you level up their classes and master their classes. They learn more and more spell uses, and their spells, unlike the weapons, don't break, and you have to buy a new book or whatever the hell that was supposed to be in the old games. So the magic use, and it refills between battles. So the magic use is actually a much more powerful tool than it has been in past games. I mean, I guess
and you don't have to monitor, like you said, you don't have to monitor durability.
Yeah,
that's a big part of this game. I mean, first of all, you live in menus a lot in this game.
Like I'd say you're spending like 2/3 of the game in menus and little like school related stuff versus like 1/3 in battles. Like
if 1/3 even.
Yeah, I'm more at a kind of a 1/3 point at this right now, but because like when it's like Persona, like you're given a task each month. Like the end of the month is going to be the big mission, right?
Yep. And then you have a calendar.
Mission, and then you go through this big calendar for the month, and each week you teach the kids during the weekdays, and you have to tell them, like, you pick, everybody's got motivation, based on like your interactions with them, they'll be more motivated. And motivation means how many times they can up their skill level. And you have certain number of moves you can use to up everybody's skill levels, and then you do the week-long thing, and different events can come up, and you talk to different characters, and like
you create synergies between characters that play out on the battlefield also. So formations on the battlefield, if you have people who are synergized together in a formation, after each turn, they get bonuses.
Yeah, and everybody's usually has like their own. The main characters have kind of their special abilities that can affect characters near them. Like I have one character who. Anyone standing next to him on the 4 cardinal directions recovers like 4 hit points every turn, or like that gets more powerful the closer friends they become to that character. It's just endless interlocking systems and tons of different abilities to level up, and every time you do, you have some kind of social interaction between these characters, and like it unlocks the support conversations, which just go on and on and on. There is a ton of effort and thought put into how these characters interact, who they are. I mean, they're all pretty much stereotypes for the most part. Like
There's so many though.
Everybody's kind of got their own thing. Like my Black Eagles team, like the main girl, the girl you see in kind of the footage there, she's sort of she's a princess. She's the daughter of the emperor, so she's kind of got that haughty sort of like kind of thing, that sort of anime like high class girl thing. And then there's the guy who's like her bodyguard, who's like sort of creepy about it. And then there's the red haired kid who's like thinks he's the ladies' man but doesn't get anywhere. And there's the purple haired girl who's has social anxiety and won't come out of her room. And every time someone says hello to her, she runs away. Like it's just stock anime characters basically, but it all works somehow because there's so many of them and there's so many interactions, and like they all have their own specialties, and you get it like any Fire Emblem game, you get attached to the ones that like saved your ass in the last battle and that kind of thing. And we
should have brought up that, like most Fire Emblem games, when you start, you choose to either play classic mode or you can play classic or you can play casual. Yeah. So classic, when a character dies, they're gone. If you play casual, they disappear, but you get them back after the battle ends. Which one did you choose?
I'm normal casual. I don't give a shit about any of that.
I played casual too, and so when I first started, probably the first 10 hours of the game, I was so happy I picked casual because people were dying left and right, and just randomly. Like sometimes you'll be in a battle and dudes just come out of a doorway, and there's like suddenly
there are some ambushes.
Yeah, suddenly you're ambushed by like 5 guys, and you just lose 2 characters, and there's nothing you can do.
And it really depends who it like. And it's characters you wouldn't expect, like the one.
Oh yeah, like huge parts of the plot.
The guy who's died the most on my team is like a badass axe wielding warrior guy. I'm like but they just focus on him, like and it is actually not like there's a battle prediction sort of thing where when you move the characters around, it will show you which characters the enemies will attack the next turn. So you can, which solves the problem of kind of like, oh, you moved a guy here, but all of a sudden everybody just beeline to this one character, even though you thought your formation should encourage them to attack this other character. So like you can see, at least on normal anyway, you can see what they're going to attack. So if you're going to move your guy over here and all of a sudden all the red lines like zoom in on his space, you're like, okay, maybe we won't put you right there because you're not going to survive that.
Yeah.
They give you the tools to deal with it, but when they do the ambush, because when you're ambushed, like out of fog or whatever, if you're running towards them, like your character stops and your turn ends. Like you can't attack them. You basically have to stand there and take it next turn.
Yeah, you take a round.
Yeah.
So when the first 10 hours, I was very glad that I had chosen casual. Because I saw all these characters dying, and I was like, oh my god, if I had lost that person, I'd be devastated. As I kept playing, though, what I found was they're constantly feeding you new characters, and when you get those characters, they're at the level that you're at. So I ended up, like, most of my party now that I actually take into battle are characters that I picked up later in the game. Because they're more powerful. Not only are they higher leveled, if not the same level, they're higher. They also, if you go in and look, they have a bunch of different attacks and abilities that your characters that you've been building don't have. So what I found is I freaked out about it, and I was like, thank God I took casual. But then over time I've realized it doesn't matter that much because you end up just organically cycling out a lot of kind of the people on the bottom end of your party for people that you're just getting organically through the game. Now,
at the same time, like
my lead character has died. The leader of my house has died. So if I had lost those guys who I have spent a lot of time building up with abilities and powers, I would have been really bummed.
Yeah, leader of my house is the most powerful character on my team, like myself included. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like
I'm the most powerful. He is next step below.
She keeps getting attacked by people. Like they'll just come at her, and she's more powerful because she's like 4 levels above my main character because she gets swarmed, but she's got an axe. She's a very powerful axe wielder, and she one-shots most like normal enemies. So she'll, like 3 guys will come at her. She'll dodge all the attacks, kill them all, and it's just like, okay, so she got 4 kills right now. Yeah,
because that's the key to the whole game is who delivers the finishing blow. That's how you intelligently level your character. That's how you intelligently play the game. You send your big heavies in. They soften them up. I'll let my heavies take 1 strike at every enemy, and I'll just like move them out of the way. Then I let like my archers and my magic people come in and just deliver that last shot, and you can level up your characters very, very quickly.
Oh yeah, and like
formations matter. Like if you have certain formations, the enemy can't break through, and so you can. You were saying earlier, you can kind of siphon enemies to your tank.
Yeah.
So if you have a tank that can take a lot of damage, like you can set up your formation so the enemies will actually kind of slide along the formation down to your tank who can take a ton of damage, then bring the back of the party in and attack from behind and finish them off.
Yeah, and terrain matters a lot in this, like more than previous games that I recall.
Oh, it's huge.
Like
it makes
you,
a big
you really
difference.
have a good, if you're in forest and they're not, for example, like you really have a pretty good chance of dodging the attack, which like
sometimes you're
Fire Emblem
they just do it on purpose.
Fire Emblem has traditionally been very much a game of attrition, and I feel like you can circumvent that to some degree in this game, which I like. I like that they let you use the environment intelligently, and it lets you save some hit points here and there. And then of course you can grind pretty easily because one of the options you get 4 days. Basically, Sunday is your day off each week. And you can choose what to do. You can choose to explore, which means you wander around the monastery and do quests and talk to people. That's really only worth doing like once a month because the quests don't reset until the next month.
Yeah.
You can have a seminar where you bring in one of the teachers and talk to them, and that kind of levels up specific skills. And then you can go do a battle. And some of the battles, you pick which battle you want to do. Some of the battles don't take activity points, so you can do them over and over and over again, basically until your frickin' weapons break.
Yeah,
and that is a good way to grind some of your characters if you want to send in some of your characters that you want to, especially if you want to master a class before you move on to a new class, because it's always better to max out a class because you learn more like inherent skills that you can carry over to any other future class. Like I didn't know that at first, and suddenly some of my other characters were maxing out their noble class early on, and they were all getting hit points +5. I'm like, I'm switching back to the maxing out the noble class for my main character. You get that hit point bonus because it matters.
Yeah, actually, you're starting to get into some of the minutia of the game, and we want to actually show that to you guys live. So if you could bring up the play view so we can play this for folks. So we were talking about...
also, your character needs to ease up on the starch in their coat sleeves.
Yeah.
Because, wow. Like, that is some stiff code action right there.
Yeah, so we're basically in the hub world right now, which is like the world of Hogwarts, for lack of a better way to describe it. When you're in this area, you can hit R1, and you can warp to anywhere that you've been already. And honestly, like when I play, and I'll go back here, I play like that.
Yeah, I tend to do that.
I don't even care that it's obscuring part of the screen because I look at the map when I run. So Matt was saying like it's a monthly thing, and when the month turns over, this map will then become littered with
people, it's full of little
people who want to talk and missions and things like that. And so what I do is
you got to harvest your greenhouse and go fishing and
so that's one thing I would say is I wish there were more activities in the hub world because like once you get to you level up your house. And as you do that, you get more ability points, which means you can do more things in one day in the overworld. And eventually you get to the point where you have you can see at the top there, I have 3 ability points. That means there's 3 activities that I can do in this day before you have to turn the day over, basically. And once you get to a certain point, you'll have like 5 ability points.
I think you actually had more because it looks like you've spent some of them.
Yeah, I've spent some already.
You probably had like 5.
Right, so I'm to the point already where there's not enough stuff to do.
Well, what you do when you do that...
To satisfy...
When you do that, when you hit that, no, you don't do it.
Why?
Well, you just go and have meals with people over and over again.
Oh, I do that too.
That's the best way to...
But here I'll show you one of them. So there's fishing, there's a greenhouse, there's a choir, there's a battle arena.
Yeah, battle arena's pretty good.
Battle training. And then there's
like weapons. There's like fighting tournaments that you like enter one person.
That's what I was talking about with the training. Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff to do. It's just sort of passive for the most part.
Yeah. So this is like the greenhouse. You earn seeds, and then you plant them, and then you come back here, and you can like water them, and then you come back later and harvest them. Most of the other stuff is like you just do the thing there, you get the boosts, and then you move on.
You can also find like there's like blue light glowing places, and like you find items that way.
Yep.
Like there's a reason to explore every month. It's just that once you've done it, it's over.
And this is where you fish. You probably already saw that in the B-roll that Jared was rolling.
And I would say the fishing is really the only active mini game. In it.
The rest is just like choose the people you want to do
pick
this.
a menu thing, and then like you see a random. I mean, it's like Princess Maker basically. It's like.
But let us show you now the depth of this game as far as your characters are concerned. So here's the roster. It
shows all their ages there.
Oh yeah, you're right. There they are. Yep, 17, 28, 25.
Yeah, those are teachers.
Yeah.
Because as with all anime, life ends at 30.
That's when it's all over. We'll show you the inventory.
You're too old to leave the house after that.
So inventory is more than just like shields and swords and things like that. It also includes your abilities. Now, items are important, though, obviously. I wish the system for moving items around was a little better.
It's a little clunky.
It's clunky to use at times. Like you can go over, but if you hit B, it like takes you back to the menu instead of taking you from that left menu to the right. That's just a nitpick. But after you've been playing this game for a while, stuff like that starts to get annoying and it starts to add up. So this is just basically your inventory. You can have a sword, you can have a shield. Certain characters can equip things like rings and scarves and stuff like that. It all depends on what their class is. Abilities. These are things that you unlock as you play. Matt was talking about earlier about getting the hit points plus 5. This is what he's talking about. This is where you get them. See, you're right there is a hit point plus 5.
Your class abilities are very... Because you'll get the ability to take like an exam to move up to a new class, like often well before your class is maximized.
Yep.
And you always want to master the class before you move on. I mean, you can switch back and forth whenever you want. So like if you desperately want to become like the next class or whatever because you want to be a wyvern rider or whatever, fine. But you should go back and maximize that class because you will always get abilities that will help you forever, basically.
Yep. And you can see here, some characters, even though I've been playing with them from the beginning, only have a few. So different classes unlock this stuff at different rates.
Like you're gonna get more stuff like that from like usually from melee classes than you would from like magic stuff.
Yep.
Whereas the magic bonuses you get as you level up the classes are spells and spell uses, so which are more important to that kind of class.
Combat arts. These are also you earn these as you play.
Yeah. These are basically special moves, but the trick is that, as everyone knows who's played Fire Emblem, your weapons have durability. When they run out, the weapon breaks. It takes 1 durability every time you attack, but when you use combat arts, you can see there you're losing 3 durability or 4 durability, 5 or
There's
something.
There's some that 6. There is one with 5.
Yeah, like it's like
all of his are 5.
It takes real, and also they're not combat arts often have a lower hit a chance.
Right.
So
Yeah,
there's a chance
sometimes.
you'll waste 5 durability. I mean, you have plenty of money usually to buy new weapons if you need them, and you find a lot of weapons. But it's just it's
You have to prepare.
you got to be ready. You got to be careful what you're doing
before you go out on a sortie. You have to look at every character and make sure that they have their primary weapon, and it has at least like 20 or 30 points left on it.
Now, you can. If you do make a mistake in the field like that, you can remedy. If you go pull up next to your main character, you can pick convoy and access all the items
inventory
that you have.
Yeah.
So that I've had that save my ass a couple of times, but you should definitely plan better.
Then battalions. This is like a subsystem. You assign leaders of battalions, and then they basically command a set of soldiers.
See, this is what I when I originally saw the trailer, and I thought it looked like Dragon Force.
Yeah.
So it's not really as robust as I was hoping that element would be, but it is a useful tool.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Because if you hit them with with one of these, they're called what's it called, gambits?
Gambits, yeah.
You hit them with a gambit.
It sends your whole squad after them.
The whole squad, and it does good damage, and it freezes them for the next turn.
Yeah.
They can't move. They can attack, but they can't move. Yep. So if you can
move like a ranged character into range, and
if you need a break from one particular guy and you can hit them with a gambit, like, it gives you a turn to sort of catch your breath.
Yep. And it just keeps going deeper. This game, it's insane. That's why we were saying you spend so much time.
Go to support. See, I don't think you have anything. So this is the menu where if you have conversations to have, but to up people's relationship with each other, you pick each one and you'll watch the
there's little
cutscenes
that play out between the two.
Fully voiced, fully everything. It's they went all out on this.
And then their bonds deepen so that, again, when they're on the battlefield and they're beside each other, they get bonus buffs and
enhanced
like
bonuses, and it's
get extra gold, get health after your turn, stuff
and you
like
learn
that.
a little bit more about the characters and how they feel about each other, and sort of it's if you're into your team, it's really good.
Yep. And that's the rabbit hole for this game.
Yeah.
It goes really, really freaking deep. I've had success with all kinds of parties. I've had like a team of almost all range characters, and if you manage them right, you can still win battles with them. I've went in with just a bunch of melee guys, just with axes and swords, and just wipe people out in a couple turns. It's very flexible. You can play the game however you want. There's a lot of replay value in this game because you can just pick a different house and it changes the game pretty drastically. Matt said eventually you can get people from other houses, which is true, but it takes a while. To get someone to leave their current house and come to yours, I think I've had 2 people do it so far.
I have 2 right now.
Yeah.
And
and they're like the most powerful characters on my squad.
Well, you're on, what are you, like month
I don't even
7,
know.
I think.
I don't know.
I saw your chapter heading. I think it's chapter 7. So I'm on chapter 5.
Yep.
And I have 2 people.
So you got them way earlier than me because I just got them.
Yeah, I think it's just it's just stat differences.
Or it could be the house, maybe.
No, it's stat differences. It's because each character from the other houses will join you if you have certain stats, and the 2 people who joined me they were interested in swords and leadership, which are my character's 2 main things. So
anyway,
that works.
just wanted to show
and
you
they
guys.
are very, very powerful. Like the one guy is a spear guy. I don't know why he was so interested in swords, but he's a spear guy, and he's 2 levels below my spear people, and he is way better than either of them. And he can take more hits, and it says I don't know if that's an intentional buff or if I just happen to get one of the better characters from the other house.
No,
but
both
he's
characters
really
I got
good.
from the other house immediately became mainstays on my party. And like the range character I was using before and the pole guy I was using, they're gone. That's what I was saying. Like at first I was lamenting, like if I had chosen classic mode, I would have lost these 2. I'd be freaking out. But now as time has gone on, I'm realizing the game does a good job of supplementing your party with new people that are more powerful than the people you had before. So don't. I would still recommend playing on casual.
Yeah, I don't, and also
but I wouldn't dread playing it on classic.
No, also you have a time rewind ability that lets you undo if you are playing classic and you get somebody killed. Because one of the undercurrent stories is you have this weird green-haired girl in your head, talking to you periodically, and she
ghost or whatever.
Yeah, she seems to be some kind of ghost or goddess or something, but she can rewind time.
Yeah, so you can go back
for a limited,
3 times.
I think it's 3 times in a battle.
Skirmish. Yeah.
So if you do get someone killed in classic mode, you can rewind, and sometimes that's not even like I made the wrong move. Sometimes it's just like
it just happens.
Yeah, it's
they just all attack one person or whatever.
Well, you can see that coming though. So like you can.
Can you?
Yeah, like I said, if every time you move a character, you'll see the red lines from the enemies, and they'll point at whoever they're going to attack in the next turn.
I just thought that was telling you that you're in range of that enemy, not that they were definitely attacking.
No, it's telling you that that's the character they will attack.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
But sometimes, like I had one of my characters die, and it didn't matter because it was casual. But they died because like they were, they had not great hit points, but they were going to kill the enemy in one hit. So I'm like, okay, well they won't get hit back because they're going to kill him, and they missed. It was 90-something% chance to hit, and they missed. So you rewind that, and it's like, and then you just do it again. The dice roll in your favor this time, and you're done. Like it's useful for that, Because if that had happened in Classic, that was a disaster.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So. I do want to say, before we move on, everyone gives me crap for how I play Switch, but I got to tell you, the other day, my wife's sister was in town this weekend, and I was trying to get some time in playing this game, and I was on one end of the couch. My wife was on her Mac, just like surfing the internet and laughing at like memes or whatever, and then her sister was on the other end of the couch. And so I'm sitting in the corner of the couch, and this is how I'm sitting. And I'm playing a game. I'm just sitting there, and my wife looks at me and she goes, "What the hell is going on here?" She's like, "You're sitting there, but it looks like there's a video game on TV. Are you watching Twitch?" And I was like, "No, I'm playing this game right now." They had no idea because I'm just sitting on the couch like I would normally be sitting on the couch. By far, vastly superior way to play Switch. 2 Joy-Cons, disconnected, one in each hand. Just chill however you want and play.
Pro controller, except no substitutes.
Anyway,
that Pro controller, by the way, just ran out of batteries while I was playing this game after 3 weeks.
It's like there's a little.
What the hell?
It's like there's a little nuclear reactor inside it or something.
It's like Iron Man made it. It's like
I almost said nuclear, like George W. Bush.
Nuclear.
The one thing that surprised me about the story is, have you picked up on kind of like the anti-religious undertones?
Well, they're definitely sort of not so subtly pointing out that, like, because you're working for the church,
right?
You're working for the archbishop, who conveniently looks very much like the girl in your head.
Yeah,
I've noticed.
It does. Yeah.
She's sort of like, and every once in a while she'll say something like, "They must learn not to point their blades at the church."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I see where we're going. Because I think at some point all 3 of these houses have to start fighting each other, right? Because it's Fire Emblem.
Yep.
And so I figured at some point
you're gonna choose.
They all realize that, like, oh, so I can't, because the blue kid is clearly going to side with the church because they're the holy kingdom of blah, 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 blah. And like I figured,
I don't know though. Like as you get into the story with him, like he starts doubting the church.
He does, but there's duty, and but the question is like what happens there, because the church is basically being slowly painted as
evil,
probably not the nice people in the equation,
the bad guys.
And like there's a whole thing where like your father left for some reason, and it's implied that there's a good reason, but you don't find out.
You don't know what it is
later.
Yet. Yeah.
And it's like, well, I bet it's because the church executed some people for being heretics or something.
Yeah.
JRPGs love that trope.
They sure do.
They really do love it. So yeah, you can see that warming up, like even early on. It's not just going to be an idyllic like romp through Hogwarts for the entirety of the game.
It doesn't appear that there's romance in the game.
There is for your main character, and that's it.
But are you hooking up with others?
You can get married.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, if you get an S rank relationship with with particular characters.
Gotcha.
Not all of them, but some of them.
It's not as overt as
there are no marriages and stuff with your other characters. Like it's not like Awakenings and stuff where you had to get your characters married off so they'd have a kid and that kid would come back in time and be like the best dragon warrior thing. That's not a thing in this one. There's no hooking up between your soldiers. It's just your main character, and even that's pretty low key.
Have you tried playing this? Well, I don't know why I've been asking you this, but I was going to ask you, have you played it in handheld mode?
No.
I did because my Joy-Cons...
Who are you talking to?
I did because my Joy-Cons died. So it's been hard for me to get TV time with like the sister-in-law in town, and so I've been having my Joy-Cons. I'll play when I can and leave them sit, and because they don't go to sleep for like an hour, they actually died.
They do die off.
And so I had to plug it in, and I was like, I need to keep playing. I have an hour window to play more of this, so I had to play it handheld, and the text is entirely too small.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, I like it because it's on TV. It's normal size.
It looks good, yeah.
But a couple times I've looked at, like, look at the text under the date in the upper left on the screen right now. Like, I don't know how the hell you'd read that on a handheld screen.
You can't even read the menus, really, on handheld mode.
Like,
granted, my eyes aren't what they used to be. But
the only text in the game that seems as big as a normal Switch game to me is the dialogue subtitle, like the dialogue titles.
Yeah.
But like the menu stuff and even like objective stuff and stuff, it feels way too small. All the numbers on the stats in the screen during the battles, like it feels like that would be very hard to read on the small screen.
Casey Wright, thank you for Twitch Prime, man. Appreciate it. Somebody else just did way up here as well. Jed Powell, it looks like. Jed Powell, thank you.
Yeah,
JSD Pal, I think it was. Thank you. Let's talk about Game of the Year stuff. Is this? Do you think it belongs in that discussion?
It might. I mean, there's a long
How
way.
far are you in so far? Well, you're chapter 5.
Like 2 months before you, pretty much.
I think when I looked at my clock, it said 20 hours the last time I looked at it.
I've left it idle a bunch. My clock.
Yeah, I don't know if it counts it or not. I don't know. But mine right now says 20 hours. I'm guessing there's some buffer in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I've left mine like idling a bunch, and like it still counts that amount. So
it does.
There's no way for me to know.
Yeah.
Like how many hours I played.
I've played a lot though.
But I've been playing.
I put a lot of time into it.
Playing it a couple hours a day at least since it came out on Friday. So I'd say I'm probably like 15ish, 12 to 15ish.
Yeah.
In there somewhere. I did spend some time grinding the battles just to kind of get the hang of how everybody worked together. So I think my top character is like level 14, and I think my main character is 11.
Okay.
So yeah, a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think
it's a gigantic game, and like I said, the replay value is there because there's just so many characters that you'll never even experience with your first playthrough. You can play for a different house.
Is there a new game plus?
I don't know.
I
don't know
there
honestly.
Is. There should be.
I guess. Does it need it though?
But it's always nice to carry your progress over.
Yeah,
I mean, pick a different house, but that
still
makes
keep all your gear and
makes
everything.
it even more attractive to recruit the people from the house that you played last time. I don't know if that's in there or not, but
yeah. I mean, the way it's looking right now, this game, I don't know how long it is. It looks like it's a 50, 60-hour beast.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And I know like the second half of the game is fairly different from the first half.
So. Oh, it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, you're like the first half is like kind of everybody's going to school and doing the thing. The second half is
something
war.
happens.
Okay, because it's Fire Emblem.
That's how it works.
That's pretty much how Fire Emblem works. It's like everything's sort of idyllic and there's little skirmishes and bandits. It's like, and now all of a sudden the entire nation is plunged into chaos.
It'll be interesting to see how it deals with that though, because it is different than prior Fire Emblems. There's so much more emphasis put on building relationships, and then that transfers onto the battlefield. So what happens if that all goes away?
I don't think it goes away. I think it becomes part of the dramatic intensity. Yeah, and that's also why it's important to recruit people from other houses as much as you can, because it means you will not have to face them on the battlefield.
Right. That's a good point.
Especially the teachers, apparently. Like, teachers are danger. Like, I'm really trying to get the school nurse on my side, because I've seen her fight in the battles where like you're doing practice battle. I'm like, I do not want to fight her for real.
Oh, because one thing we didn't mention is you can recruit people without permanently recruiting them. I don't know if you've got to where you can do that.
Yeah, you can ask them for help in the next battle, but they don't get any experience.
But man, they'll wreck shop while they're in that battle. They're probably the best person on your team in those battles.
Yeah, I don't really anticipate swapping a lot of characters out, because I have gotten attached to several of them as characters.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep Bernadette in there as my archer.
And you're smart, so you probably build out your team to have one of every class.
Yeah, I've already got a couple of them on the plan. I'm like, oh, you're gonna be a knight, and you're gonna be a wyvern rider, and you're gonna be a mage, and I got everybody kind of has their end game roles in plan, and so. It'll all be fine. I have plans for all of them. I like them all, and I'm going to keep them as long as I can. Unless someone shows up with just the most awesome thing, I'm like, all right, maybe I'll swap you out for one of the spear kids that annoys me. But
honestly, like, once I saw the abilities of some of the people I was adding to my team, my emotional attachment to some of those characters from the beginning, I was just like, later. I got over it real fast.
They'll get a lot of those abilities from maxing their classes out moving forward.
Yeah, it's true. You dodged the GOATY question, Game of the Year. Do you think it's in that discussion?
Maybe. Like, I don't know, there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
For both
a lot of the
terms
best
the end
games
of the year
are coming still.
and in terms of finishing this game and getting more under the belt.
But you know when you play a game that is at that level. At least I do. Like, especially after I've played it like 15 or 20 hours, I can pretty much figure out if it's even going to be a part of that discussion.
Not this early in a game that has such a changeover in it.
Okay.
I got to get to like the end game in this thing and see how it goes.
I would say it's in the realm of possibility.
It's possible. Do I like it better than a Plague Tale? Not really. I mean, Plague Tale is probably still the best thing I played this year.
I like Persona 5 more.
I don't.
I do, because to me the battle system in Persona 5 is just miles better.
Well, it's hard.
It's active and it keeps you engaged. Like
it's hard to compare for me, but I prefer this to yet another turn-based JRPG system.
I mean, this is turn-based RPG system 101.
No, it's turn-based strategy
RPG system, but still, it's the basics. I mean, there's no twists really into the combat.
It depends how you play it out, and depends what you're facing. I find the combat in this, the turn-based stuff in this is more interesting to me than just Persona's combat was tedious to me by the halfway point, and is one of the reasons I just never finished it, because I got to the final dungeon and at a certain point I'm just like, I'm tired of this. I will possibly reach that point with this too, but I've been playing Fire Emblem for 20 years and I haven't yet for the most part. And I feel like my biggest problem with Fire Emblem in the past has been kind of hitting walls where I just felt like I wasn't leveled enough to tackle this, and I would have had to go back and grind.
That's where I usually
battles
stop.
And like that was sort of where I kind of fall off for the most part in Fire Emblem games.
Me too.
I'm hoping the sort of the grind on this is a little more interesting to me because of the Persona elements they've stolen from Persona. So we'll see. The main thing is just that the performance is weird, and it doesn't have the character and the personality of the hand-drawn animation from the old games. I think it is very obviously using the Fire Emblem Warriors engine.
Graphically, it's bad enough. I hate to say it, and I'm not a big graphics over anything guy, but graphically, this game is almost bad enough to almost be disqualified from Game of the Year.
I wouldn't agree with that.
It's on the edge. It looks like a Wii game that they've been working on for a long time.
You need to go back and play the Wii Fire Emblem then, because it doesn't look like that. I mean, granted, the Wii and GameCube Fire Emblems looked bad for their time.
Yeah,
it's just not a graphics heavy franchise.
Yeah.
Although I still love the 2D animated
combat
animation in the old games.
They realize people, because the loading screen is the sprites going across the screen.
I think it looks fine. It's obviously not going to be in the
definitely not winning best graphics in 2019.
Not at all. And there's moments where if a scene pulls in far enough, you're like, yep, that's some serious aliasing on the side of your little bow tie there, dude. But I like the way the characters look, and even though it is my girlfriend came home last night and saw it for the first time and was like, oh my god, they really have gone full anime with this series, haven't they? She preferred it back when they were more, because pre-Awakening, they were more based around kind of Western fantasy.
Yeah, they look a lot more rugged than they do now.
And it kind of had to change over the way Castlevania did. You remember Dawn of Sorrow?
Yep.
Suddenly it was everybody's from an anime TV show.
Yeah, now you can really tell this game's made in Japan. Yeah. Whereas before you really couldn't.
And that's kind of happened to Fire Emblem over the last 3 games.
Yeah.
But I really don't mind it that much, just in the sense of there's so much quality of life improvement here, and it's just a different way of approaching the material. I dig it. I don't know if it's going to be one of the top things I've played all year at the end when you're dealing with something this repetitive. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I like Persona more, because I'm already starting to burn out on the combat a little bit in this. And I agree with you.
Persona 5 is one of the most repetitive things I've ever played.
Persona made it to about hour 75 before I started feeling the way I'm feeling now.
I don't maybe so much on the combat, but the combat of Persona 5 being the same elements over and over again. Literally elements, beat the element with this, knock the guy over, do the thing. Plus the fact that every time a new character joined, they would just repeat the premise again for them. I got so sick. It was like binging a TV series that kept structuring its episodes as though you hadn't seen the last episode for 2 months. It
Yeah.
was just like, can you just assume I know that we're going into mind palaces and defeating like trauma here because we can get on with it here?
Yeah.
Like, whereas this is more like the repetition in this is just sort of mindless menu navigation. But I can kind of stomach the menu navigation more than having to sit through like endless cutscenes of the same plot point over and over again. But we'll see if we hit a point where like we get to, if we get to the point where we're in the kind of the war phase of this game and it's just endless characters pontificating about how much war sucks, like every other anime about war.
It's probably
you
gonna
might
happen.
lose. You might lose me in that.
Look, I like this game a lot. And by the way, I fully recommend you go buy it.
Yeah,
it's a great value.
I think it's better. So to me, it's better both in terms of kind of what it's doing and in terms of kind of character presentation than the last two have been. And I did like the last two. The other advantage this one has is so far there's no 10-year-old girl who claims to be a 1,000-year-old dragon. I think that might kind of happen with the girl in your head, but like she doesn't seem to be a romantic interest, so you're already 5 steps ahead of the previous two games.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But it's and like the Hogwarts thing is kind of a cheap move, but it works.
Yeah, it works.
It's compelling. Like for some reason it pulled me in, and like I'm still interested. And also sort of that thing of like as a Suikoden fan, you put me in a home castle and let me like build shit, and it's like, I'm happy. Like I'm, what are you gonna do?
One thing I would say that's out of the ordinary for the typical RPG, there's not a lot of crafting in this.
No,
there's a blacksmith you can go and you can repair your weapons and you can
upgrade them a little bit, but like, it's not a focus of the game, and it unlocks really late in the tutorial segments.
Yep.
So, but there's a lot to do. Yeah,
it's a great game.
It works.
It's great.
It's I'm not disappointed. I've been looking forward to this since probably they revealed it E3 last year, and I am not disappointed.
Yep. I mean, to answer my own question, do I think it's GOTY worthy? Probably not.
I mean, it depends what the rest of the year holds.
I mean, it's one of the better games released this year, but I think I've been doing this long enough to know that in the next 5 months, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's probably
you're gonna run into some games that have a more visceral, rewarding experience
and are more polished, and the presentation's way better. And
that is the one thing. Like, everyone's acting so shocked that Koei apparently made this mostly, did the majority of the work on this game. That should be real obvious to anyone. I mean, this is not Nintendo level polish in a lot of places.
That's for sure.
That's really the biggest downside to it is it's not, it's not on par with like even the Yoshi game in terms of polish.
Yeah,
it's not quite there. You can forgive it some of it because of the scope, but it's noticeable. Yeah. It's definitely noticeable.
One thing I will say that I like a lot more about this game than I do Persona 5 is the scheduling and the calendars. In Persona 5, they just would screw you.
Yeah, there's a lot of railroading.
If you do this, here's 3 days gone, and now you can't do all this other. This game doesn't do it. It's very good about telling you, hey, if you do this, the day is going to turn over.
Yeah, this game tells you to plan. This game tells you to plan and actually lets you plan.
Yeah.
Whereas Persona does do kind of an arbitrary.
It would just screw you, basically. But I would say if you tried Persona 5 and you did not like it at all, I would not recommend this game because they are very similar.
Mm-hmm. If the reason you didn't like Persona was you don't want to live a school life schedule, I mean that's pretty much what this game is.
And what makes up the bulk of the time of your playtime. Yeah.
I mean, and the purpose of doing all that school stuff is to fill very tiny bars very slowly.
Yep.
And so that's not a thing.
It's very rewarding though after you do after you go to school and you actually train them. And it shows all their bars, and they'll go doing, 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 doing. It's just like dopamine.
And then like they all get their little upgrades, and they're like, "Oh, that looks pretty good." I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait to try that."
Yeah, I know.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
I know. It's great.
Just these tiny, tiny increments, but like they do get tangibly better as you move forward.
Absolutely. So there you go. Fire Emblem Three Houses, another great Switch game for 2019. These other platforms are going to have a really good last couple months of the year.
Certainly, if you're into turn-based strategy on a console, there's no other game.
And there's another one, and then you're getting Pokemon Sword and Shield at the end of the year. What a year for Switch, man! What a freaking year! But anyway, it's time for our trailer of the week. As I said earlier, we just put up Dossier, the games of August 2019. The biggest game and the game that got the thumbnail was Control, which is Remedy's new multi-platform game that's coming. They just released a story trailer this week. Let's roll it.
I'd like to tell you about a dream I had last night. In my dream, the hiss had broken free of this prison, this house. At first, many people thought it was horrifying. But also, many people wanted to welcome the hiss in. Funny. And that's all I can remember of that dream. This is an ordinary song about an ordinary girl from an ordinary...
Matt, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Control?
2.
2.
Like,
that bad, huh?
I don't care about that game at all.
Really?
I mean, I'll probably play it. I will be disappointed if the end credits theme is not the Janet Jackson song.
Now I'm all grown up.
But I don't. It's not really on my radar.
I mean, I'd probably put it like a 5.5 or a 6 for me. I've never been a gigantic fan of Remedy's games. I have an appreciation that studio generally innovates big time, and this game looks innovative.
Yeah,
it's got one gun that has like 5 different forms, and obviously with all the free roaming floaty stuff that's going on, all the powers, it looks interesting, but. Maybe it's just one of those cases where I've got this excited for Remedy games in the past and they just ended up not delivering.
Yeah, I just don't. It doesn't. I'm not a huge fan of their kind of general design. I thought Max Payne 3 was just a huge slog. Like I didn't like any of it really.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Max Payne 3 either.
I mean, I don't know, and like that, it just looks like. I mean, that looks like it could be any indie game ever right now. Like, the production values are obviously very high, but like, I'm not seeing anything in that trailer that makes me go, oh, I really want to play that. It's just like, yeah, that looks like a video game. Like I couldn't tell you what it was if I didn't already know what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not tracking great on the site. They just put up the story trailer. It didn't do a ton of views.
Also, I can't quite place why because I wasn't sure. I wasn't listening to you when you introduced it, so I didn't realize what it was when it started to play. And I'm like, what is this? And it showed the guy go like that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's Remedy. Oh, it's Control. It's Remedy. I don't know why I can ID Remedy characters like that. I don't know what the difference is about what they look like versus any other company's characters, but for some reason they have some subtle house style somehow that I'm like, oh, it's the Max Payne
that you're
guys.
Subliminally picking up on.
I knew what it was. So they can't be that generic. They do have their own thing. It just has never really resonated with me.
Big thanks to Casey Wright, Emperor Dread, DanBoy90, all subscribe via Twitch Prime. Thank you guys so much. If you're watching this show on YouTube, please subscribe via Twitch Prime. We go up and down. The last couple of months have been pretty abysmal. Unfortunately, Twitch Prime has turned into a primary resource for us, a revenue stream, and when we don't have it, it hurts. And we're outlaying a bunch of new cash for the studio and all the utilities that are tied into it, blah, blah, blah. So we could really, really use your help, and it's free. If you've done it once, it literally takes like 2 seconds. Please click the link. We really appreciate it. I don't understand why we get people on YouTube like begging for money. It's like, no, it's not begging for money. It's free, bro. I'm begging for your 1 second. Is that too much to ask? We just gave you 3 hours of entertainment and we're asking you for 1 second? That seems fair.
Yeah. I admit I keep forgetting.
Yeah. Well, I don't count on you. You're a part of the gang, man. I don't need your 250. It's all good. Let's get to some questions, and I forgot to tell you guys to get questions in during the trailer of the week, but you're very well trained at this point, and there's a ton in here. W. Matthew, as usual, our first question. Between the RE2 remake, Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, Sekiro, and that's just this year alone. This gen, Japan seems to have returned after being irrelevant last gen. What do you think happened? New blood, Japanese devs stop trying to copy Western devs, or something else? Great question. First of all, do you agree with him that Japan is back?
To some degree, yeah. I mean, they're certainly more relevant than they were. I mean, part of that is just the success of the Switch. The fact that you've got Japanese developed games on the Switch that are making waves, and I think the success of Dark Souls, and that kind of the copycats on that have sort of created this thing where it's like Japanese game design philosophy does have a place, and Devil May Cry's back and that kind of thing. I think it's just sort of. They had a hard time adjusting to the budget increases required to make stuff on HD level console. There was that constant concern about spending too much money to make these games.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy even fell victim to that, and Final Fantasy is about as big as it gets over there. Remember the times where there's there can't be towns in 3D HD RPGs because they're too expensive, and meanwhile Bethesda's like, what?
What are you talking about, bro?
We got 7.
Yeah.
And now of course Final Fantasy 15, as terrible as it was, proved that that's not true. There's not a lot of cities in that game, but there's an open world and there's towns to go to, and there's they did it. They pulled it off. So I think, they are kind of coming more into their own by absorbing the lessons of kind of the top level Western stuff, putting their own spin on it. And you're also seeing the audience become a little more, I would say, receptive to kind of the Japanese style of certain things. Plus, the American wings of these companies are becoming less reticent to put them out. So I think one of the big examples of that is Yakuza.
Yeah.
Yakuza is not a game that you would think would be a big hit in the West, but it has garnered a following.
Yeah.
Even with the director saying recently, I was like, we're not going to make our games for Western audiences because at a certain point you have to be who you are, and that's what you make. If we made a Yakuza that was targeted for a Western audience, what would that even be?
Right.
And he's right. Lean into your strength and lean into your quirks that make your game what it is, especially in that case. And now we're hit the point where instead of waiting 3 years for a Yakuza game to be localized, we got Judgment months after it came out.
Yeah,
so
barely.
Huge change.
Yeah, came really quick.
I think they've proven viable in the Western markets, and they've kind of figured out where the budgetary thing needs to be, and the quality's there. And it's not like Dark Souls or the equivalents tear the charts up or anything, but they sell very respectable 3 to 5 million. You can't argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe W. Matthews overblowing the resurgence a little bit.
Somewhat.
It's easy to pluck 1 or 2 games from the last few years, and you could say almost any country is on. The funny thing with
power of Poland,
right? I mean, exactly. I mean, the funny thing about data is you can pretty much spin it any way you want to fit your argument.
But I would say there's been more Japanese games that felt like
modern games
recently.
They still, though, I would also argue that the majority of Japanese games still are the ones that feel like old games.
Here and there. I mean, you've still got kind of there's still an insistence, even no matter how detailed your open world is, you're going to make your objects glowing points of light,
right?
Which is
which also happens in Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yeah. Which is just model the cheese, dude. Just let me.
It's not that much work.
I'm a little more forgiving of it in something like Fire Emblem because the system's struggling to run it as it is.
Yeah.
Put more objects in the world, you're just going to make it worse. But something like Final Fantasy 15 had no excuse for the objects you were looking for in the side quest to not be actual objects in the world.
Yeah.
But there's stuff like that's getting better, and they're getting better at kind of getting the input from more Western and localization groups to make the cutscenes and character behavior less embarrassing to a Western, or just at least less weird. Dante acted more or less like a normal human man in Devil May Cry 5, which has not been true of him in several other games.
True.
Better voice acting. Voice acting is better than it's ever been in Western games. Western games, I think, led a revolution in how you voice video games. Something like Mass Effect, it would have been unimaginable, a few years before that.
Yeah.
And now I think that's carrying over to localizations. They're sort of moving away from that thing because there's still the thing where I asked someone who works in localization stuff and dubbing a couple of years ago about stuff, and she was like, about why anime dubs still sound so as bad as they did when I was a kid, basically, and she's basically said the market for anime expects it to sound like that, so we have a stable of actors who intentionally do that style whereas in a video game we would play it more straight, we would play it a more Western style, less heightened, I guess.
Sure.
Would be
I would actually argue that Japanese games have improved recently because Japanese developers stopped trying to make Western games. They've gone back to making the games that they want to make without considering the Western audience. Like Nier Automata. That game 4 years ago, I don't think would have been made because they would have tried to find some way to make it a typical Western action RPG.
And I would actually argue that that Nier, the first, the one before that, was kind of that.
Yeah, it was. It was them looking at the Western RPG and saying, okay, these are popular. What can we do with our RPG? Now they're just going back. They're like, you know what? We know how to make really good turn-based RPGs. Let's make some frickin' turn-based RPGs. We're good at strategy RPGs. Let's make some really good strategy RPGs. So I just think Japan is like kind of rediscovering its identity a little bit. And I also feel like you have a lot of people maybe
learning that they never needed to change it in the first place.
Right. And I think you have a lot of new audience discovering this for the first time because when they first came into games, the Japanese games were trying to emulate Western software. Now they're just like, this is us, this is what we do, and people are starting to discover it and be like, I like it. So I think the best thing they could have done is just stuck to their guns in the first place. I'm glad they've kind of come full circle and they're back there now.
I think very few things have helped that as much as the success of Nier Automata.
Yep, absolutely.
Automata.
Yeah, whatever the hell it is.
Because if something that weird can sell that well, you have no excuses left.
Then you can just do what you want to do and you can be successful.
Just get Suda51 on the phone. Team him up with Swery.
Yeah, there you go.
Make whatever the hell they want to make.
Well, if you team up with Swery, the game will never come out. So, J. Reed Vic 7, thank you. Chevelle Man 1979, thank you. All subscribing via Twitch Prime, y'all rock. Johnny Hurricane, thank you, brother. Subscribing via Twitch Prime. If there's one person who gets off the hook for Twitch Prime, it's Johnny Hurricane, and even he went and subscribed via Twitch Prime. So thank you, man. A ton more questions in here. We're not going to be able to get to all of them, unfortunately. Justin Horman, a phrase that you might hear often among people who play games is X would be perfect for Switch. For me, Classic Doom and the recently announced Outer Worlds fit this, but what is a game or type of game that you'd like to be able to take with you when you leave the house that you haven't been able to yet?
Nothing. I don't play games on the go, really. And if I have a Switch, that means that instead of playing it on a tiny 6-inch screen, I could play it on an HD TV. So I'm going to wait and do that. I don't have any interest in the handheld element of that. And I can't wait for, if they do release a Switch Pro, insta-buy. Instantly. If I never need to
worry about it
ever again, I will. Like the Outer Worlds thing, that confuses the hell out of me. Because I'm like, why do you want to play that? Why do you want to play the objectively worst version of that game? Because it's not going to run well. It's going to be on a tiny screen. It's going to be like 540p. It's like
now. I feel some people. I don't.
It's already going to be broken because it's Obsidian. It's. I don't. Are people taking trains that often? Really?
Some people are. I mean, back when I lived in the Bay Area, I rode buses and trains every day.
I just wouldn't be able to concentrate on a 100-hour RPG in that scenario. Like I just wouldn't want to play it that way.
Fire Emblem Three Houses is a good commute game because it's turn-based, so you can just finish a turn and just put it in your bag.
Well, and also to its credit, you can save almost anywhere.
Yep.
Like they let
you can just pop up that menu I was showing you, and you can save manually, or it'll prompt you to save.
It's just not the way I care to play games. If I had to be on public transit all the time, maybe that would be different. But at the same time, like the Switch is too big for me to put in a bag to justify being in a bag. Like it takes up too much real estate.
I guess my point would be is that I do not want to play games on the go. That is, to me, is a vastly inferior experience. I will do it if I have to,
right?
But I don't want to. Like when I fly home and I have a 5 or 6 hour flight back to the East Coast, I always take my Switch and I never play it. I would rather sit there and watch a movie or a TV show or whatever. I don't like having active entertainment when I'm on a plane. Why? I don't know. It's just the way it is. And I don't commute anymore. Even our new studio is literally like an 8-minute drive from my apartment. So I've never had a really bad commute since I lived in LA. So I literally, the only time I play handheld was back with the 3DS because you could only play those games handheld.
You only play it on 3. That's exactly it. As soon as you move to the Switch model, that means I have a superior way of playing it when I get home.
I agree with you 1,000%.
I'm just not going to do that.
I played this in handheld mode because I had to, because the Joy-Cons died and I needed to keep playing. But I would never choose to play in handheld mode.
Right. And I will go one step further and say I would never choose to play anything on the Switch.
Yeah.
If it's on another platform.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Like-
if I could get every Switch game on
'Cause
PS4, I would play it on PS4.
You know how I'm going to play Outer Worlds? For free on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and it's going to run better, and it's going to look better, and all the bugs will be right up there in 4K for me to see as Obsidian waits to patch everything out. The Switch obsession with Perfect for Switch, I don't get it. Like, it's a platform I own because otherwise I don't get to play
Nintendo's games.
That's it.
But
Like,
see, we're beyond we don't care what name or badge is on the hardware. We just want to play the games we want to play in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that matters to us. And we're different. I mean, everyone I think eventually will
also,
get there.
I think the pricing structure on the ports is screwy. Like the fact. I mean, I don't have any interest in playing The Witcher 3 on the Switch, but the fact that they're going to probably charge $60 for that is criminal.
Oh, you
to me.
know they're going to charge.
It's a 4-year-old game.
You know they're going to.
That's going to be the objectively inferior version in terms of performance and graphics, and you're going to charge full $60. I know it's probably going to have the DLC in it, but it's like give the Switch people a break. That should be $40.
Yep, absolutely.
Like it's so weird, and like I understand that people just things cost what they cost, and people are used to kind of paying a little higher the Nintendo tax, as they say it. But I just think it's bullshit.
It is bullshit. There's no doubt about it. J. Reed Vic 7, if G4 and X-Play hypothetically existed today, would it be a lot easier to fill a weekly show and have interesting shows at the time because of how many more games exist and come out today? I think more games came out back then.
I think you're right. Like,
I mean, that was the PS2 era.
Honestly, like back in when a couple weeks ago when that guy was running the pirate Tech TV station on Twitch, got shut down. But I think it got shut down because he was playing commercials.
Probably.
I don't think it got shut down for playing Tech TV stuff.
Probably.
But
who owns the Tech TV stuff?
NBC Universal.
It does?
I mean,
so I guess it got transferred to Comcast. Yeah.
Somewhere
NBC.
in there they own that, but I don't think they know.
Or care.
I'm pretty sure that like most of those episodes are either gone or destroyed or in a vault somewhere no one will ever find them again.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
they might still be at 8th and Townsend.
No, they're
some closet that no one's open.
They're all in deep storage, like NBC Universal's deep storage. Because I had to pull some of them out to do DVD dubs of them when we were leaving because I wanted certain episodes from my reel and just to have because it's the ones we worked the hardest on.
Yeah.
And they had to pull them out of deep storage.
Dang.
And like that is the masters. They had to pull them out.
Yeah.
And like that is if something's in deep storage, you ain't seeing it again unless you go find it. So we'll see if I mean we made 1,300 something episodes of that show, and I have like 150 of them on disc. So that's a lot.
A lot more to go.
I mean, would I ever want to watch a bunch of those again? Like as a viewer, probably not. I mean, the most interesting thing about watching the old ones on that Twitch channel was so many weird little games I forgot existed, but we put in the show because we had to fill 3 shows a week.
Yeah.
And I mean, every weird little RTS on PC, every freaking Yu-Gi-Oh game on Game Boy Advance, like.
You know what would make maybe it would be
got an idea. It's like, oh god, games came out constantly.
Yeah,
like just
like
shovelware.
Every Tuesday,
you can't afford to do that.
Like
now.
20 games every Tuesday.
But like, you couldn't afford to do that now because your company go out of business.
I will say this: I think it's the same because there were more big budget games or B-level games being released back then. But now there's way more indie games. So we would end up probably every episode of X-Play would have at least one indie game.
God, you could do it. You could do an entire. The whole week could just be filled with the garbage that gets shoveled onto the Switch store every week.
Yeah.
I mean, also, I think if you expand it to like, field pieces and covering like game culture stuff, there's a lot more meat on that bone now. Like we would have a lot more opportunities to go out to events and go out to talk to people and go.
Esports didn't exist back
stuff.
then.
Like I mean, you would easily be able to fill 3 shows a week, probably simpler, but your field budget would be higher. It wouldn't be so much as like so many games are coming out we could fill. Especially this summer because very little came out this summer, and we would still be probably running around desperately trying to do 3 shows at Evo or something.
We'd be doing a lot of themed episodes like we used to do for sure.
I think it would be roughly the same. But like just like you say, instead of like weird PC shovelware and like Game Boy Advance games no one in their right mind would pay money for, it would be indie games and like weird mobile stuff.
Yep. Yeah, mobile. That's another thing that's just exploded since then. Score Fear. Any plans to stream some Mario Maker? Got a couple fun levels for you that won't make you pull your hair out.
Yeah.
No.
You're not going to stream that one with all the fire sticks?
No. I think the ship has sailed on Mario Maker. I might do one stream where I just play your levels. There's been a couple people that have reached out to me and said, hey, like, if you stream this game, will you please play my level? And if I do stream the game, I absolutely will. So maybe I shouldn't say no. I don't want to shut the door on it. But we're kind of shifting gears. This Saturday coming up, we shoot Pactor on Friday. Again, get ready to get your questions in. And then Saturday, I'm going to be in here for Today's High Score, our call-in show. So everybody put it in your phone right now in your calendar. Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, we'll be starting Today's High Score. It's a call-in show. I need you guys to call in or there is no show. You can just sit and laugh at me flounder trying to fill all the time. So put it in your phones. Be back here at 2 p.m. Pacific on Saturday, and I'll have a bunch of topics for us to discuss, and I'm going to discuss them with you live. So that's kind of the focus right now, is just getting Today's High Score up and running, and then we'll start doing game streaming. I'm thinking game streaming might start being on Monday nights or Monday afternoons. We'll see. But my idea probably is that by the time all that stuff's ready to go, Mario Maker may not be relevant anymore, but we'll see. I don't want to completely shut the door on it. We'll answer maybe one or two more. J.A. Murita. To Matt and or Shane, did you guys see Alita Battle Angel in theaters? I did not. I just saw it on a flight. And I will say, I thought it was way better than I thought it was going to be.
I saw a press screening of it, so I did see it in a theater, but I didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be terrible, but it actually was pretty good. Yeah.
It was, I mean, it's
the
not...
eyes didn't bother me either. I got over it real quick.
The eyes are fine. Like,
yeah.
I think it's probably Robert Rodriguez's best thing in a long time, which is damning with faint praise, but, like, my main issue with it is it's a giant Act 1. Like, they really thought they were making two more of these things, I think. And the whole movie is, like, a setup for the real story, basically, and I hate it. Well, I mean, anyone who listens to this show knows I hate games and movies that are just 2 hour one
setup.
Big Act 1. Like, tell a story. So I did. I mean, I liked a lot of what they did. I read the manga when I was younger, when that was in the '90s when that was out. I thought it was a pretty good adaptation. It just doesn't get to the interesting part. Like, by the end, I'm like, okay, I'm interested in what happened at the last shot is the most interesting thing in the movie to me. But now you're never going to get any more of that unless, I guess, Cameron and Rodriguez decide to just throw more money down the hole. I mean, or you'd have to have like a Pacific Rim situation where like China basically funds it. Like, I don't think it was that big a hit there.
Yeah, I was entertained by it.
It was fine.
I was on a flight, and it made the 2 hours or however long it was go by like the blink of an eye.
I didn't dislike it. Like, it was fine.
Yeah,
fine.
I didn't see it in a theater though. I saw it in a TV in the back of a seat.
No, it was a full press screening, IMAX 3D, the whole thing. Like, it was fine. It was. I'm not probably not going to buy it on Blu-ray or anything, but I'm glad I saw it on the big screen. Like, it looked, stuff like that looks better the way they're intended to be seen, and I think that movie is definitely intended to be seen on a big screen in 3D, and it was fine. Good.
Okay, I think that's it for a Q&A. Man, there's a lot more in there. I wish we could answer them all, but we're already up against our 3-hour limit. Somebody asked about the Sifted Fantasy Football League. It is coming back this year. I should be sending out invites for that very soon. If any of you know the champion, would you have him reach out to me? I've been trying to get in touch with him since the season ended. We've been trying to send him a trophy, been trying to add him to the plaque. He won and just ghosted. So there's something to be said for that, I guess.
He's like Ryu.
Yeah, but the trophy's been waiting. It's in Europe right now with the prior winner, and we've been waiting to try to send it to the new winner, but he won't reply to any emails. Have him get in touch with me if you know him. If one of you guys got him into the league or whatever, have him reach out to me.
He's not here for victory and trophies. The fight is all.
Apparently, that's it.
He's sure you can in a waterfall somewhere.
Yeah.
That's where he is now.
So when I reactivate the league, everyone will get an email. If you don't want to play this year, make sure you let me know so I can find people to take your place. Likewise, if you're somebody who hasn't played before and you want to play in the league, just send me a DM on Sifted at Shane, and we'll try to get you in. Last year we had 12. I don't think we want to go much above that, but every year at least one or two people leave, and it gives some spots open. So just at me on the site, at Shane, and we'll try to get you into the league. And like I said, when we send out the league email to everybody, make sure you reply if you're not going to be in the league, so I know that we need to replace you. Again, Pactor Factor shooting on Friday. Look for requests for questions for that very soon. Today's high score on Saturday. We've had a great run. Since we got this studio, we've just been plowing out the content. I hope our patrons have been going to our Patreon page the last few days, because this month was a little dry with content, but I hope they can see what we're going to be doing and they don't bail on us here at the end of the month. That's my big fear, is that the transition took too long. So hopefully people have been in tune with our Patreon page to see what we're going to be doing, and this is what we're going to be doing for the next 12 months. Feeling the urge to get away from it all? Permanently or for months at a time? Immerse yourself in the best Montana has to offer on 320 acres of remote, heavily forested property. Gaze at your own private lake from the deck of the log cabin. Truly off the grid, soak in a custom wood fire-heated hot tub surrounded by wilderness and wildlife. Visit www.lostlakemontana.com for more detailed information and images. You can also contact Doug DeShazer today at deshazermt@gmail.com or 406-291-1643. That's deshazermt@gmail.com or 406-291-1643. Thanks to everybody who joined us on the live stream. This new time seems good. We got good participation, more questions than we could answer at the end. Lots of people subscribing via Twitch Prime. Thank you again. So I think this time works out pretty well for most people. A lot of people from Europe watching the show live, which usually doesn't happen because it's usually too late. So Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, we will be here for you guys, and we'll be back next week with an episode. We'll see you then. GameFace is up and out.